Hurrah! Welcome. Sorry. I don't know where the fuck that came from.
What?
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Infinite Podcast. It's been one hell of a week. It's been a crazy, unfortunate, upsetting, annoying, sad week, really. But we're going to bring some positivity to the conversation. We're hoping that this developer comes true. This week she did confirm, so she's obviously maybe held up at work. It's probably got a lot going on for her. She works at Arkane Austin, so she's not having a great time at the moment. So if she comes through, that would be fantastic. If she doesn't, going from the top to the bottom, Infinite, welcome back. Another fantastic week. How's your week been? What have you been up to? How's stuff and things?
Oh, stuff and things is fine. Happy to be here with you guys tonight. We were expecting the guest, but it's unfortunate, but it is understandable. Things happen. But happy to have you guys here to chat it up and talk and chop it up with. Happy for the audience we have too. Hey everybody. Been a good week, man. We had a 3-hour show yesterday. Really good talk. We got it all out there. You know, it's a lot of sensitivity in the community right now where people don't really want to hear anything they perceive as negative about Xbox and such. I think they got to get out of that because much like yourself and everybody else here, we only speak in truth. So it is what it is.
Mm-mm. Yeah, 110%. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'll quickly launch into that and then I'll jump to Donte. Like, if you look, we're all Xbox fans. We love Xbox. We love the brand. Damn it, I put in like countless hours of my life making a show built around Xbox and gaming itself, but mostly built around Xbox. So if you think that I am a pony bot or I don't love Xbox, you're out of your head. But that doesn't mean that we can't criticize when they do something wrong. So there is going to be some criticism, and if you can't handle criticism of your favorite box, then maybe the door is the place that you need to find. Donte, how's your week been? What have you been up to? How is stuff and things?
Christmas is canceled. No, I'm joking. Man, the week was going good until some of the news that came out earlier this week, obviously. And then it's kind of trash because there's a bunch of people that I know who we're all getting together to try to meet up. We're going to meet up in LA for the conference. So you want to kind of go into the conference with a sense of momentum, right? Of kind of like, all the bad news that we've been kind of hearing and kind of been brushing that stuff off, like change is going to happen. That's just kind of it's inevitable whenever there's an acquisition that happens as large as the one that just took place of ABK. So you knew some stuff was going to happen in terms of change. So you just wanted to basically hope that, hey, maybe we'll get into Hellblade launching. If that performs really, really well, we'll get into June and then the showcase happens and hopefully, Xbox can basically start to do what they need to do in terms of reaffirming some heads and getting people to feel like the brand is still moving in the right direction. And I don't know, right now it's probably, I would say, the most unsure I've felt, but I'm trying to still be even keeled about the situation. So I know we're gonna get into it and have some pretty decent conversations about it. But yeah, man, I wish this week didn't turn out the way that it did, to be quite honest. But outside of that, man, week's been good, got health, family's good. So, I'm going to be grateful for those things.
Yeah, it's and I look, I'm tired of talking about bad news, man. Like, we should be talking about Hellblade. Xbox should be talking about Hellblade. Blue, how's your week been? What have you been up to? How's stuff and things? You went on a bit of a trip as well, so I definitely want to jump to that. Unless you want to give us a brief now, and then we can jump into that a bit later. How's stuff and things?
Hello, everyone. I actually, I haven't played a ding dang thing like all week. I came home last night and spent some time with my parents this morning, worked, and I played a couple hours, well, an hour of Call of Duty before this. So that's all I've played all week because I went to Seattle this week. I flew out very early Sunday morning and I just got back last night. So on Monday I did a super cool tour of Xbox Studios. Well, the Xbox offices and 343 and Turn 10. So I'm here now. It was a great week.
Oh, nice.
Minus, but I was there Monday, and then the news broke Tuesday morning, and I was kind of like, "What?"
Did you give him the Did you give 343 the smoke?
I did not because I met Pierre. I met Pierre, and it was very very cool. So anyway,
Were they all just standing around doing nothing?
just waiting for me. Yep,
Nah,
that's
stop.
it. Just lined up and
Stop.
waiting. No, I'm not being like that. But anyway, I'm back and ready to talk about the good and the bad and the ugly. Mostly bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Super exciting. Hell yeah. I can't hear this stuff this week, but I'm going to press the buttons anyway. Garuda, how's your week been? What have you been up to? How's things and stuffs?
Yeah, had a
Thanks.
fantastic week. I'm glad to be back here with you guys, albeit under challenging circumstances if you're an Xbox fan or a gaming fan in general. However, games though, and my backlog are just better and bigger than ever. You know, that's one thing that's positive, I guess. I've been playing my forever game, Vampire Survivors. I just got the new DLC yesterday or the day before. Contra. If you ever played Contra back in the day, oh man, this DLC, it just combines two of my favorite games together, and it is so good, man. You get all the characters from Contra, you get all the guns from Contra, Contra levels, like, dude, it is so good. I've been playing that, and I'm still playing Ayuden Chronicle, 100 Heroes, which is another really, really cool game. If you like turn-based JRPGs, get on it. Game Pass. And yeah, man, just I've been very busy with work and such. But yeah, look, geez, just when you thought Xbox could not find a new low, they've done it this week. And I really feel for all the developers out there. And look, what do you say? I'm sure we're going to get into it all. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we absolutely are going to get into it all. Yeah. Man, it's a tough one. I want to talk about last week. We talked about the showcase, how good everything was, and how things were going, like looking good, and then like this bullshit. Come on, Xbox, stop doing this to me. It's not personal. They're probably not doing it to me specifically. So this week, if you guys don't know, Xbox has shut down 4 studios. I would probably argue that 3 of them might make a bit of sense, but one of them makes absolutely no sense at all. So Arkane Austin, the creators of Redfall, the creators of Prey, and also Dishonored 1, I believe. I don't know if they did Dishonored 2, but yeah, the original makers of Dishonored, absolutely fantastic, critically acclaimed game. They also shut down Lionhead Studios. Sorry, wait, my bad. That was a callback. Soz. They also shut down Alpha Dog, which is a small mobile studio. Again, understandable. You've got ABK, you've got one of the biggest mobile games in the world. And Alpha Dog made Doom, small top-down shooter game in the Doom universe. Didn't do so well. That game will be shutting down and being delisted quite soon. And Roundhouse Studios, which is a support studio for Bethesda on games like Elder Scrolls. Back in the day, they made some pretty good games, but they've been folded into ZeniMax. And then we've got Tango Gameworks. I literally cannot make any sense of this at all.
Use your words. Use your words.
Use your words. I can't make it. I can't make sense of this. I know a developer in Bethesda, and I know a couple of people that have a line into Bethesda as well. And so when this happened, I spent like a lot of time whilst I was working, by the way, working. I spent a lot of time trying to get as much information as I could because I could not understand it. And like I said, so I can understand AlphaDog. Think about AlphaDog, absolutely cool. They made a top-down shooter. It's supposed to be pretty good. However, you've just got ABK. They've got the biggest mobile game on the planet. And then they've got the second biggest mobile game on the planet. You having an unsuccessful mobile studio that's just not doing it doesn't make sense. So I can understand that. I 100% understand that. And there's, Roundhouse Studios, they're already providing support to Bethesda. So it just makes sense to have them, instead of as a separate studio, have them as developers in and on the games for ZeniMax. And that makes sense to me as well. Arkane Austin, this is a little bit different. And if Natasha does come through, she is from Arkane Austin. She's, there's a human cost to this. People have lost their jobs. They've lost their health insurance. They've lost their ability to provide for their families. And so it really bothers me when I see Xbox fans out there going, well, you shouldn't have made a shit game. This is a studio that has a fantastic pedigree. And if you are one of the people out there saying that you shouldn't have made a shit game, you don't know you just don't know what you're talking about. You don't know the history of the studio. You don't know the news behind, I guess, or behind everything behind Redfall and leading up to it, the history that's there. And if you don't know, look, and I'm sure a lot of you guys in the chat do know. Look, I'll say, Redfall was a game that was started development in a time where all studios, including Bethesda, were trying to build live service games. It is not their wheelhouse. They didn't want to make that game. The developers at the studio didn't want to make that game. They lost a lot of talent throughout, reportedly, by way of Jason Schreier. They lost a lot of talent throughout the development of that game. This game was never going to succeed. The problem that I have with it is I understand that if you don't understand the industry, you could think as a corpo, I'm just going to shut this down and we'll move on because they've made a big mistake. It's just, there's a lot to talk about here, but there's one of the things that really bothers me about this, and we'll get to Tango, we'll get to the other ones, but one thing that really bothers me about it, you used to be able to make, to make a mistake. Some of the best games that we have ever, like Fortnite was a monumental fuck up, when it launched. It did not do well, but it was supported to the point that we see it today. And in the industry, they used to be able to make a bad game after having a couple of good games, right? And make a bad game that doesn't hit and get another chance. And at the moment, it seems like this is not the case across the industry. I'm not just talking about Microsoft, but the difference between across the industry and Microsoft that I have is we have all of us have been like, this is the good thing about Microsoft. Studios can take risks and they can do, make the games that they want to make. They can make mistakes and they can get another chance. Or we can get games like Hi-Fi Rush and then they're safe, right? Because they're in the Microsoft umbrella. And so they're not going anywhere. But this just demonstrates to us this is just not the case at all. At all. And for someone who rallied, supported, defended, and I am against acquisitions. I do not want any more acquisitions. Even before this, I didn't want Microsoft to acquire anyone else. And I don't want companies like Embracer acquiring game studios across the industry, because all you do is consolidation will remove competition. It'll remove innovation. And it's just not something that I want. But I did support the ABK acquisition vehemently. You could go out there and see me on Twitter, just backing this thing up. And this is what comes of it. It's unbelievable. I really thought, and I sound like a jilted ex, but I really thought they were different, I thought they were different. I thought this was this different sort of a thing, but it just turns out it's exactly the same as every other company conglomerate. And look, I know I sound negative about Xbox. And listen, there's a lot to be excited. There's a lot to be excited for in June. But now that showcase, that's the other thing. Now that showcase has a taint. When do you do these things? Do you do them before? Do you do them after? I get there's never a great time to do this. But you've just the conversation should be around Hellblade. The conversation should be around June Showcase, and I'm ready to wait and see. And not the last thing I'll say, but I want to kick it to the panel because I've been rambling for a while here. But the last thing I'll say is, could we just stop this? Let's get rid of Phil Spencer bullshit. Like the dude. Oh, and Yog, if you're talking to me about business and how I don't get it, I'm upper management, dude, within a corporation, one of the top 20 in the world. So I get it, probably more than most. Phil Spencer has turned the company around. It's not fulfilled all of its promises, but it's gone from a company that had 3 studios to a company that now has 40 studios producing. We may end up at 30 by the end of the year. But
right, Riskit, and
to
just
say-
quickly, if without Phil Spencer, like you think Xbox is bad now, without Phil Spencer, there is no Xbox right now.
Yeah, and to
Probably
say
shut
exactly
down.
that, he saved the brand. He did turn it around, and I'm absolutely I don't like this move, and it bothers me. Yes, Pixel, I'm part of the problem. I don't like this move, and it bothers me. And we can get into the understanding it like later on. I understand the business side of it. I get it, but there's a move in here I don't understand. I don't understand the lack of vision. Which I believed Xbox had for the long game. And I was glad to hear that they are going to keep Call of Duty within Game Pass, because I think that's going to be, I think that's going to shift the needle slightly. There's a lot here to talk about, but let's stop trying to blame one man, Phil Spencer, because it's just that's not it. And he's done so much good that they're not small, but these hiccups, these breaks that they keep stepping on, I don't think you can put it all on one man. I don't think you can put all the success on one man either. But I also don't think you should be like, let's get rid of Phil, because I don't know. I don't think he's managed to do what he wanted to do, and I would like to see Phil succeed. He's a nice guy. Look, I'm going to go top down and open it up, guys. This is completely open. This is a completely open conversation. And hopefully, if this dev does come through, we've got a lot of questions for her, and like whether they saw it coming, like what was the feeling like around the studios. But we'll get into that. Umbra, there's a lot. How you feeling about it?
Man, I'm feeling down about it, honestly, but I've had more time to, I guess let the news settle. So the thing for me, and I was told about this, I wasn't even aware. Usually, I'm on Twitter a lot of the time, but I was unaware of what happened until Holly actually hit me up and was like, "Yo, did you see the news?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So I check it out, and it's sad to me because this right here just speaks to it speaks to a bunch of things. Mismanagement is one, but it also speaks to, I think, a lot of corporate greed. And the reason why we can point to that being the case, because I'm sure people will say, well, they had to do this. They weren't making money. And I'm not saying you're wrong, because a lot of these games didn't sell well, unfortunately. I think Hi-Fi Rush did sell okay, at least for the budget it has. But if you look at past games in their catalog, I guess you can point to a Ghostwire Tokyo. You can point to a Prey. Those didn't sell particularly well. Evil Within, even, they didn't sell particularly well. So I guess people could point to that and say, hey, well, this is part of the reason why they said, hey, upon evaluation, these teams could go. I can see somebody even making an argument, for sure for Austin. I think, though, the problem is, and this is not just specifically Microsoft, it's also Bethesda, because before Microsoft got them, Bethesda created the problem. Arkane Austin were put on to do Redfall, as we all know now, was a dud. And it was a dud because the problem with management can be if they put you on something or force you to do something you're not in tune with. From what we're hearing and release reports, the Austin devs didn't want to do Redfall, and it was going to be a live service style game. They didn't want to do that. So when that happened, they didn't. I think maybe either they weren't ready for that type of game, or maybe they were resentful and gave us what they gave us. I don't want to guess that's the last part, because they would mean it would be the downfall. Their downfall would be themselves, right? But I think it was out of their wheelhouse, and that's why we got what we got with Redfall, by and large. Also, too, again, I think too, part of the problem is this: like a lot of their games, or at least like if you go to any of these devs, some of their games can be rated well but don't sell well. So now what do you do? And I think that's part of the problem, because now how do you solve that? So the thing is, when we kind of all championed Microsoft buying a lot of these devs, Bethesda, etc., we had the thought of well, Microsoft would take care of them and allow them to kind of thrive using the Game Pass model. But now that we've had these closed, now they've shown us, okay, Game Pass can't really save you. So the problem for me is, what metric do we use to say, hey, this is successful and you all are safe?
Yep.
Because now it looks like, if they can close like this, having an award-winning and well-received, high-rated game in Hi-Fi Rush, Tango specifically, and a fairly small studio, mind you, it's not a gigantic studio, and it goes against the tenets of what Microsoft said, or at least Xbox said, should I say, in having a Japanese presence. So this just robs us of that. That's one. Two, it's a small studio already, which goes oddly paired with what Matt Booty said later, what they were searching for as far as their portfolio. But you have them who have a small, limited budget, fairly limited budget. They made an award-winning game, and that still wasn't enough to keep them around. So what then happens to the Double Fines? What happens to the compulsions? Hell, will Hellblade 2 be safe if it doesn't sell? Well, I don't know. And that's the scary part for me when I look at this. And then you hear other news and things that come out that just make you scratch your head a little bit, right? So we had one article that was posted recently from Game Industry. I'm not sure if you guys all saw this, but they were talking about Microsoft spent more on stock buybacks and dividends last quarter than it did buying ZeniMax itself. But it suddenly can't afford to keep paying beloved devs or of successful games. And obviously it's a headline that's going to catch eyes, but it's some
Umbra,
truth to that.
can I ask you a question? Were you talking about the Xbox One profits from the quarter or from Microsoft?
I believe it was from Microsoft itself. It was just Microsoft buying back stock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Sorry.
Yeah, no doubt. But my thing is, and I know that, Wade, I'm what I want to speak like I know the business. I don't. I don't want to speak make it sound like I'm presumptuous on that. But my whole point of it is, I feel like you see other stories in gaming where, for instance, a Nintendo, and I had a good discussion with a bunch of buddies the other day. When you have a Nintendo or a lot of other Japanese studios and execs who will take a pay cut even to allow for devs to stay on and things like that, but you won't see that over here in America, right? Because it's very capitalized. It's very capitalist here, very much so, more than I think any other most other nations in a lot of ways. But and I'm not saying and suggesting, these studio execs or whatever should all just take pay cuts. But I think when you highlight that and then you look at the millions they're raking in, and now these devs are now jobless and unsecure with their future. It kind of, I think it's a it kind of brings you back to reality. And I don't want to, again, I guess we can only assume and guess so much, right? But I feel like I know that, or at least I feel like Sarah Bond and Phil, because Phil hasn't said a word since this happened. And I don't believe that. Now, this is just conjecture, but I don't believe this is what they wanted to do. Obviously, like, this goes against, again, what they were saying, the promises they made, the things that they were declaring that they wanted to do. I don't believe this is something they sought to do, but I believe it was something that was kind of forced upon them, as far as, hey, we got to make some changes. And And I think this was what it came down to. And I think if you listen to what they're talking about, whereas they're saying, hey, the wording, at least from Matt Booty, it sounds to me that they're cutting the fat, so to speak, of games that are, I don't want to say experimental, but passion projects. We won't see any Pentiments anymore, I doubt. And they want to aim for the Call of Duties. They want to aim for the live service. They want to aim for the ones that's guaranteed or more closely, or at least possible to bring in more money in the masses than these other types of games. And I think that's the saddest part about it all. And outside of the devs losing their job, is that we will likely lose out on a lot of diversity in the portfolio because of this. You know what I mean? So that right there is unfortunate. And I think because of this, I feel like there's a lot of other things that can happen because of this. I feel like other studios could be closed. I feel like other devs, I know there are going to be more cuts. I don't have any doubt in my head that there are going to be more cuts and people are going to lose their jobs. And it's really depressing because, I mean, right now, I'm pretty sure we're on pace to be ahead of last year right now, right? I'm sure we're well above it now. So,
well, I mean, just on what you're saying there, like with the cuts, I can tell you that's 110%. There is going to be more cuts. There's more news coming that people aren't going to like. And there's a lot of meetings happening right now internally in, I know, one of the studios where they're saying things that the devs just don't understand.
yeah.
And stuff like what Matt Booty said. You mentioned Matt Booty when he was talking about we need smaller games that bring us acclaim, and prestige and all that sort of stuff. That's just completely counter to what they've done. It doesn't make any sense. It shows a lack of foresight. It makes you question the management. And I do question the management, whether I think Phil should stay or go. Like this decision to get rid of Tango that made Hi-Fi Rush a critically acclaimed game. Now, Anyong in the chat was saying it only sold for 4 million copies, or already had 4 million players. This was a shadow dropped game, right? On the, that was not at all advertised, which is another problem that we have with Hi-Fi Rush, with Xbox. Like, it wasn't really, if you look back, it wasn't set up for success. And we all thought it was a great move because, hey, Game Pass needs this kind of variety. It's getting smaller games that are really good, critically acclaimed games, and this is what they wanted, right? This is what we all thought. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone thought different, but this is me falling off the edge of the building 20 times. But this is what we all thought they were doing. They were just building, a portfolio within Game Pass that would bring people in to the service. This is what this type of game was for. So what is it now? This is my question. What is it? What are they doing now? They're going to go the AAA bangers.
Well, that's my point. What's the metric though? That's the bigger thing. What do they tell their devs behind the scene? Hey, you're expected to bring in this much. You got to sell this much. For instance, we saw a little bit behind the curtain with Insomniac and saw what they have to sell through for, the use of Spider-Man, for instance. But what are the metrics now for these studios that they have to do? Even because now it seems to me, Game Pass is not going to save you. And and it leads to other thoughts. How, the whole Game Pass sustainable and all that nonsense again. It makes you wonder. You know what I mean? That's the scariest part about it. And then you hear these rumors of Xbox gonna go third party. This feeds into that fear. You know what I mean? Because after a point, is Microsoft going to step in, Phil and Sarah and Matt Booty be damned, and say, all right, third party it is for you all? I don't know. And that's worrisome.
That metric, Umbra, for success needs to be clearly defined, not just to us, but certainly to developers. Because if that metric is always changing and it's never clearly defined to developers, they have to understand that this dictates what kind of games they are developing, what genre, what budget, what scope. The metric for success is everything, except we don't know what that is because they...
Oh, I accidentally pressed the mute button on you, Garuda. You'll have to unmute.
That's okay.
I'm
Did
trying
I
to
say something?
no, I was
Did I
trying to
say
turn-
something wrong? I got censored.
No, you're good. You're good.
No, I was
You're
trying to
good.
turn you up because you're a little bit quiet. So I was trying to
my
find.
He was trying to
the
silence
thing.
you.
I'll get up on
Silence
that.
you.
Microsoft employee was like, nah.
No, I agree. What's the metric?
Yeah.
What is the metric?
Yeah,
That's the problem.
Look, that's the problem. The metric needs to be clearly defined. You can't change the metric of success halfway through the development of a game because they've based everything around that metric for success that you've dictated to them. So make it clear. Follow through with a plan or with a strategy for once Xbox. You keep changing it. You don't follow through. You don't stick to your guns. That's the trouble. So it's a big thing, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. We saw that. I know I'm talking a lot, and I like to get to the panel. And I apologize, but obviously I feel pretty passionate about this. But exactly, is Game Pass sustainable or not? Like, you told us it was profitable, and now you're telling us, what are you telling us with this move? It's not profitable, or you don't want to. People are worried about Game Pass with this move because it just seems like, you know, this was the game that's perfect for Game Pass. Critically acclaimed, it's a banger, smaller game. Like, yeah, it probably cost a few mil. Maybe didn't make back its development cost, but it adds value to Game Pass, and that was what we thought the point was. But with the metric, I mean, with Sarah Bond getting up there and point blank avoiding the question. I'm sorry, she point blank avoided every single question they asked her, and she dodged around this whole what is the metric? Because it's different for every studio. But does every studio know? This is one of the reasons why I do hope that Natasha comes through, because I want to ask her, like, what is the metric that they want you to achieve? Like, do you know what that metric is? What are you trying to achieve, like, with each game? Are you trying to make your money back? Are you trying to limit development costs? You know, and I get it could be different for each game, but do they know what it is, man? Like, if you, it to me, put it up before on Twitter. You make a good game, you get shut down. You make a bad game, you get shut down. So what are you going to do? You're going to make like just a middle of the road game? Like what's the metric, man? Donte, we'll jump to you, but guys, jump in because this is a passionate topic.
I
Donte,
don't know, man. Can you hear me?
is he frozen? Have I
Nah,
frozen?
He's good on my end, bruv.
Can you hear me?
I can hear
He
him.
looks complete.
Check,
Oh, he's
check.
talking. Okay, I can't even hear him talking. I'm just going to reload.
I think I'm talking. So yeah, man. All right. So I think a big part of this problem is also where the industry is right now, in terms of the industry is kind of sputtering, especially this year. So part of me, like, yes, I completely agree. That was one of the questions I actually had if she would have been able to show up was, you know, are they given metrics as to what defines success for a studio? And the fact that each studio has something different, that seems a little bit odd to me. It also kind of pisses me off that, like, I felt Booty's comments were a little bit tone deaf on the whole idea of, like, you know, we need smaller, highly rated games, where it's like, well, Hi-Fi kind of fit that description, you know, in my opinion. Like, it's a smaller, highly rated game. And you guys were also talking about how you wanted a presence in Japan. And so the one Japanese studio that you have, that's the studio that you shuttle after they just make a critically acclaimed darling that, you know, maybe it didn't do gangbusters, but it's kind of like would have been perfect for the Game Pass model, right? So that pisses me off. Now, there's bigger things that are impacting this. Obviously, the gaming market is struggling. I think hardware sales is down, I think between both Sony and Xbox, 25% for both, probably compared to like year over year. I saw an article that said that even with like ABK, if they didn't include the ABK data, that Xbox's services numbers would have been pretty bad as well. And that's the one thing that they've been kind of like making the ends meet, since the hardware is not selling a lot. The services basically has been the thing that's been kind of keeping them afloat, right? Because they're not selling the console as much. So without ABK, if those numbers would look worse, that means Xbox would have been in for even worse year. A lot of this shows me that, like, within, like, we're seeing things within ABK, and we're seeing things within inside of ZeniMax, right? So Jill Braff, who's the head of ZeniMax, she's the one who came out and said that, like, basically this was cost cutting and that they were basically kind of spread thin and that to the point that they were going to topple over. So there's a decision process that has to come up where they say, okay, if you're cutting costs and you're cutting some teams, you have to have something that you look at that says this is why this particular team gets cut. So yes, while there might be something to say about like, some of the games that those studios produce probably, while critically acclaimed, didn't like move a lot of numbers, so it put them like in the worst particular spot to be in, especially in the situation where basically the gaming industry is not doing so well and Xbox isn't as doing as well as they wanted. Plus, I think they said Game Pass has grown like 1%. So I'm a part of me I want to think that if Game Pass was doing better and if they got the growth out of it that they expected, that we wouldn't have seen this, that we would have been able to see some of these particular studios continue to survive and thrive, even if they weren't putting out games that were doing the numbers that adhere to whatever Microsoft's metrics are that they're not telling us. But when you have a combination of all these things happening, you got the market's starting to slow down some, hardware's not selling quite a bit, games aren't selling quite a bit. And then you have a situation where they're like, you got that much more people on payroll between ABK, Bethesda, and all the other studios that you acquired. And now you got to kind of cut some expenses. I think it put them on the chopping block because of the worst potential timing. But it also kind of scares us because it's kind of like, okay, great. So what happens for any other studio that you guys have purchased? Like, didn't you not like whose foresight messed this up? Because like, did you overly plan that much because of what happened during COVID? Did you really think that like you were going to get like 50% growth out of Game Pass or something like that? Because whoever did that is like you guys are the one who screwed up because you're putting these people in positions where you acquired these studios. Like if someone comes out and tells me that like it had Xbox not acquired Bethesda, that these people are going to possibly lose their jobs anyway. Like if they were like kind of on life support, someone comes out and tells me that, okay, that's another thing that we can kind of rehash. But at the end of the day, it seems like we were hoping that they were going to be in this position that they could weather the storm and give these studios a few years to be able to show their worth, right? And then basically show how it's going to fit into your model for Game Pass. And it feels like we're not getting a chance to see any of that, right? We get one game that comes out from Tango. We get one game that we know Arkane did not want to make with the vampire game. And so it's like you were hoping that they were going to have an opportunity to kind of prove their mettle and really show that like, yo, this is why you acquired us. But instead, boom, they're gone. So yeah, it makes me it's just my uncertainty feeling that I have about where Xbox is right now because I hear people asking about is it going to be Ninja Theory next, and I'm hoping that like these are separate things. Is ZeniMax doing their thing in house, just like ABK is kind of doing their thing, and then they're reporting to Matt Booty, and then a decision gets made, and that it won't impact other studios like a Ninja Theory. But I don't know, man. It's just a really crappy time, really really crappy time that I'm hoping they got to do a gangbusters to try to win back some trust right now. Because right now, I think everyone feels probably at their lowest in terms of how they feel about the brand. And I'm usually someone who's pretty kind of even kiltered and not negative about this. But this is the first time where I'm kind of like, where are we going? Where's Xbox going as a brand right now? I'm not for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. It just feels like it feels very uncertain at times, right? And I know people are like, "Oh, don't doom and gloom." I think, though, we're just looking at reality, and the reality of it is not positive looking when you just erase these folks out of here, and a seemingly, I mean, you were just celebrating Hi-Fi Rush, and now all of a sudden it's like Tango is gone. That's great, and you could tell they didn't know about it. Welcome back, Risky. You could tell they didn't know about it. Because you see Johansson's his tweet, he was just like, "Oh, I'm at a loss for words." He didn't even know. Like it was like a last second thing for him. So I just don't understand it in some way. But Blue, I think Risky was going to bring you up next.
Yeah, what are we talking about? No, I'm kidding. Well, as probably a lot of you know, Arkane is my favorite studio. So when this one hit, it really hit extra hard for me. I mean, obviously, you know, even if it's a studio that, you may not necessarily love a lot of the games that come out of it, there's just a very real human component to the fact that, these are people doing a job and doing a job they probably really love because, making video games is really cool and super unique. But you know, you always feel the human side for that. But then if it's a studio that you know, hold very dear to you because of their art as well, it's kind of an all around, you know, kind of gut kick. What I know everybody goes, oh, well, it's Arcane and they made Redfall, and I'm just like, it's very myopic and very short sighted to think that way because, you know, a studio is more than one game that it's ever made. Arcane made Prey, which is one of the best games you could ever play. Hi, Colt. And they also helped on Dishonored. They do a huge amount of support for the Leon team. And Leon is working on Blade right now, as we all know. But anyway, it's just very, very sad because I know that that's not helping. And obviously Tango is super unique. It's the only Japanese studio that Xbox has had, and they've committed to this big push in Japan, and yet then they closed them down. So what's going on there? You know, it's almost like you needed a foothold in that market by having that company, right, to help with those deals, but apparently they don't think that that's necessary, so they must have an alternate plan besides Square Enix. It's just really, I don't know, it's just really kind of like we hear about studios closing a lot. And I don't know, maybe you guys saw, correct me if I'm wrong, are some like a small portions of the staff being reallocated to different studios?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So a
they-
So
lot of
not
the so Arcane Austin's like founders or leaders have been
Harvey
pushed
and
over to
Raf and
yeah. So they're over in Leon.
So
a
yes,
small portion.
Did he
Oh
freeze
yeah,
again?
he's
Did he
frozen.
freeze
I
again?
thought he was still thinking. He
No.
was just frozen.
Yeah.
he was like he's deep in thought. There was
I know
one thing that just
Roundhouse
popped up.
is. I know Roundhouse is being absorbed, but I thought I
Yeah.
saw that small portions of each of the other studios. Are
I
gonna
think
be
they did
absorbed.
say Arcane Austin, like some of them would go some places, but it's a new update here that says the work adjustment and restraining or retraining notification notice sent out in Texas says that 96 employees from Arcane Austin were let go. That was the total of, I
Out of
guess.
how many?
I guess that was. I think it doesn't say how many, but they say that they're scheduled to be released, let go by July. I'll link it to you guys.
All
Okay,
right.
that'd be good.
Because the article from Schreier did mention something about her saying something, Jill Braff saying something about kind of reorganization to allow development for like Fallout and Doom or something like that. Not for sure if that meant that they were putting people in some different teams, but that would be cool if some people are still retained.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you can go ahead and
One
finish
second.
cooking.
We're doing a
Finish
little
cook-
technical problems.
We're doing it live.
He's moving
Effie,
around.
we're doing it live.
I think
Yeah.
he left. He's coming back.
Yep. So anyway, bye Mark Wayne. It was good to see you. Not. And so anyway, we just I don't know, man. Like it's like hit after hit after hit for this year and what's going on with Xbox, and I don't know where it's going. Like that, and that's probably like Donte, right? Dante's always like, oh, it's fine. Xbox will be fine. It's disappointing, but it'll be fine. This is the first time I've seen Donte kind of like, what are we doing? Right. And he's not wrong. And I think it's just been kind of a really weird year. Actually, it's been since ABK. And not that I think closing a studio is the right thing to do, but if they were gonna do this, why didn't they do it when they did the 1900 layoffs at Activision and just do it in one hard bump?
Just
Like,
rip the
just
Band-Aid off.
get it all out of the way.
Yep.
And we know there's more coming, right? Because we saw that Schreier broke that they're doing voluntary
Yeah.
buyouts or severance packages, right, for some of the ZeniMax people. And we keep seeing that Tom Henderson said there's another 12 to 18 months of this coming. And I don't think he meant specifically just for Xbox studios, but, kind of across the industry on the whole. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some cuts at Warner Brothers, maybe some Rocksteady
That's
cuts.
terrible. That's terrible that 12 to 18 months of layoffs and changes and restructuring has been reported, because
That's within the industry, though. So
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's within
but
the industry.
If you were at Xbox or even anywhere in the industry right now, you would seriously be considering changing industries and you putting your skills into somewhere more stable, and you would surely not. You would surely be reconsidering your options if you're in the gaming industry right now. You really would be.
Yeah, imagine this is the thing you've always wanted to do, right? To create games. Is this an industry that you would feel really comfortable about right now?
Absolutely not. You'd get out and you'd consider coming back later when things are looking a bit better. Really, there's going to be people not just getting laid off, but there's going to be, people with skills who are in demand who can find work elsewhere, leaving the industry. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, sorry guys, I'm having tech issues, and I'll get that sorted out.
Welcome back.
Yeah. I think
go ahead, Holly. Sorry, Holly was still getting her bars off.
Oh yeah,
No,
jump
it's
in.
fine.
Jump in.
No, I just I think we keep seeing these like stuttered things happening, and it's detrimental to their brand. Like, if you're gonna do a bunch of stuff, just do it, say this is it, and then move on. But that's not what's happening. It's, well, here's a little bit more, and here's a little bit more, and here's a little bit more. And it's really kind of made a lot of people feel dejected and low, like kind of lost in where the brand is going. And just
who is this, bruh?
This guy is a tool. He keeps coming
Go,
back.
Tim Beef,
man.
Tim Beef, bro.
You gotta go, bro.
We hurt your feelings, bro.
He's gone.
Get him out of here.
So anyway, there's just a lot of trolls. There's a lot of trolls on Twitter who are going at it too.
Yeah, we kind of knew this was going to happen today, sort of.
Yeah, it's fine, right? Like, if you don't like Xbox, it's fine. I just don't know why you're here to poop on people that do.
Listen up for a second. Just sorry, Holly. For anyone who, if you don't like Xbox, you don't like PlayStation, you're a fanboy, you're a troll, okay, cool. All right, we can go back and forth about that kind of stuff. But if you're going to sit behind a keyboard with no face, your PFP's some, I don't know, dick or something, like, don't sit there and talk shit, because you're not going to say that stuff to people in real life. Just don't be a weirdo. Like, piss off, man. We're talking about serious things right now. People have lost their jobs. This is not about the console war. This is not about that. Have some compassion, have some maturity, or seriously, just go away. You're not wanted here. Sorry.
No, you are Papa Garuda came through.
He laid down the law. He pulled the belt off on you.
That's right.
Yeah, and I'll just throw in on that one as well, because it's typically me. What the fuck has anyone's race got to do with fucking anything?
Yep.
Sorry, jumping back to what you guys said. I'm having serious technical issues. I think my my actual webcam is surging into the computer and causing shutdowns. So I have shut down a couple of times. Yeah, surging. Yeah, I agree with you, Holly. Like, here's the thing though, that I was thinking about that. So do they, it's really unfortunate timing. It's unfortunate that you guys can see everything over here as well. It's not my plan. But it's really unfortunate timing, because what do you do though? Do you drop all four at once? Right? Because if you'd gotten rid of Roundhouse and say Alpha Dog, okay, and then I could guarantee you there would be a minimal reaction. Even from me, I'd be like, well, that makes sense, right? Alpha Dog Mobile, they got the biggest mobile publisher in the business. That makes complete sense. Roundhouse, they're already supporting anyway, so you folded them in. Not a big deal. Like, I was it a good move to just do all four together? I don't think it was. Like, to your point as well. But then to your point, if we're going to continue to see this, throughout the rest of the year, it's just slowly going to kill hype for the brand. I mean, Matt Booty said a while ago, like that this is not damage to the brand. There may be some, like, I don't know what the word he used, but he minimized it. This is damaging to the brand, and I want them to stop damaging their own brand, man. Like,
Well, and honestly, it's damaging to the work that all these studios are outputting right now too. Because do you think morale at any of these studios is high? Nope.
No.
Like there's a lot of stories about that, right? Like if you work at Double Fine right now, and then like everybody's like, oh, Ninja Theory is on the chopping block. Like literally no one feels safe at this moment unless you're working on like something super, super big that's super successful, like Call of Duty. Like, and even then, you're at Activision, and it's not that your game is going away, but your position might to cut it down, right? So
Yeah.
it's bad all around, and so it's really just it would be better. And again, like we don't know exactly the reasons behind why this is happening, right? Is this I think a lot of us suspect, right, that it is probably a larger Microsoft overhead issue infiltrating down into Xbox. And if that's the case, then I mean, I don't expect any of this stuff to stop for a while. But if it was an Xbox internal decision to do these things, it seems like they would have the control to be like, okay, we're just doing this in one fell swoop. We're going to do this and we're going to trim, down to where we feel like we need to be one time and then just move on. Right.
Yeah. And that would be probably the better thing to do right now.
Yeah,
Do you
to
think
have done,
the
not now,
Yeah.
right?
Like,
do you think that it's-
exactly. Like, get
Yes.
it done. Because, like, you got people who are completely, I won't say complete, but a lot of people are unsure, right? That's been a thing we've been hearing for months now in terms of the direction of Xbox. So if you're trying to build momentum going into your showcase, why would you, like, get this, the bad news stuff should have happened months ago. You don't have it happen literally weeks before this, where you have to now reaffirm people, like, I don't get that.
I kind of feel bad about, though, tying the fact that people are losing their jobs to just the fact that it's before the showcase, and that's a bad idea. You know what I mean?
I completely agree.
Like, I don't like tying those two together because it just creates more of a feeling like, well, if it was 3 months before, it wouldn't have been as bad, but because that's not the case, right? I understand why people do that, and that it's not because of that, but
just to stop you real quick, Grim Jr. in the chat, you need to send me a message on Twitter, mate, because we have a coin for you. You won the coin competition, and it's still sitting there. So send me a message on Twitter as well. And I'll also say Xboxer Mike, you won a copy of Zao, and I couldn't track you down, so hit me up on Twitter as well, mate. I'm sorry to interrupt your flow there. Do you think Colt went to like that Bethesda show and just started walking around slapping coffees off the table and was like, Phil, you got to shut the shit down? No, I'm kidding. Like, I hate that we're even talking about this. Do you know what I mean? Like, we have to talk about it, and I want to talk about it, but I hate that we keep coming back here. Like, it's
where's the good
starting
stuff we
to
can talk about,
right?
Like,
It's starting to piss me off, and like people are like, here's the other thing: the community, like that Muppet that was in here, and other people was like, you're doing this for clicks. This doesn't help my channel, guys. Like, it doesn't help me at all. In fact, the negativity any criticism I have had has done more than hurt my channel. I haven't grown. If you watch, I haven't grown that much over the past, year. And it's because there's a lot of bad things that have happened. And every time the bad things happen, I got to talk about it from an honest and genuine place. I'm not going to hand wave things. I'm not going to give them a pass. And it hurts me every time I do it, man. It hurts me emotionally. No, it hurts the channel. It hurts me just all round. It's painful. I don't want to see Xbox stepping on fucking rakes. I thought that this generation was the generation we were going to take it back, man. You know, we did that Xbox One generation where it really wasn't just the TV. It's they didn't have any big tentpole games, and I got to bring it back around to that because, like, it's not because of the TV, and we've still got a hangover from Xbox One. It's that they continue to step on rakes, and whilst they're stepping on these rakes, they've not. And guys in the chat, I know some of you are going to argue with me, but like Hi-Fi Rush was a smaller game, critically acclaimed, and that's what we need. We also need these big bangers. They need a mix of these things, and they haven't been releasing a regular cadence. And my argument, I made a video a while back about AAA development, is that we really need these smaller titles in amongst these larger titles so that it exists, right? You know, crying in my car, Pixel Slapper. The meme is come to life on the channel, but like we need these so the entire ecosystem can exist. You need to slot these smaller games in, and as I said, I can even reason away Arkane. I can reason that away. Like, cool, you've slimmed the studio. I know you have a problem with it, Holly, but I can. Like, you can see that from a business perspective, and I hate to say that, but you can go, they had a critical failure, like a very critical failure. It was terrible. Then what they've done is moved the heads of those studios over to work on Blade, because Blade is probably a very important IP to them, and they need that to be successful. And you know, this is while they were pitching Dishonored 3, by the way, which I know hurts Holly, because I know that's one of your favorite studios. But I can understand that. I can make the business connection to go, yep, that makes sense. But when you look at Tango, I cannot make any sense of it. Now, what I got told was, and he was sketchy on this, and the exact thing that he said to me was, I probably wouldn't speak about this publicly because I don't know this for sure. But what I was told was they were trying to use Tango after Hi-Fi Rush as a connection to the Japanese studios and help them, assist them make games. I don't know, like he wasn't specific about that. But if that's the case, it still doesn't make sense to shut them down. Like, I cannot figure out, like, if anyone can make this make sense for me, like, I would love that.
It doesn't. It's because it's the opposite of what they said months ago. Right? They wanted to increase their presence in Japan. So you got rid of one of the studios that potentially was giving you like an in. Maybe you needed probably more, but clearly that's not going to happen now, right? The idea of them probably, it seems to me like, are you guys just giving up on that market again, right? Are you just basically like, it's not going to happen again, and that's why you let go of Tango?
Yeah. Like, do they, in what is essentially a content war at the moment, not a hardware war, it's a content war, it's a services war. Does Xbox not understand that less studios is less games? That's how it works. Less studios means less games, and when your metric is you need content to pump into a service to make a platform look better, you close studios.
But maybe it's
games.
cheaper for them to buy third-party games into Game Pass than to produce them.
But they're not bringing those huge third-party games, AAA third-party games that would actually move the numbers into Game Pass day one.
But Arkane and Tango weren't making huge AAA games.
So my problem,
like you're talking about, right?
And I don't. He said, I think shutting down Tango makes more sense than Arkane. Tango sold 10K copies of Ghostwire in the first week in Japan on PS5. I don't think Japanese gamers like Tango like we think they should. Maybe that's true, but it's still your only in, and that doesn't make sense to shut it down because of that. That makes sense to say to those developers, because they're mostly Japanese. I don't know if you've seen the picture of the studio. They're mostly Japanese developers. They're Japanese. They know what they like. Like, do what they said that they were going to do, which was, let's let developers make what they want to make. So then hit that studio up and go, guys, what do you want to make? You don't have to make a Hi-Fi Rush 2. You make something that makes sense to you. Like, that does not make it make sense at all, Aeon.
Right, and Ghostwire Tokyo, sorry, just quickly, I would say that what worked against that in Japan, essentially, or at least one aspect that would have worked against it, is it's a first-person shooter. Look, I know it's set in Tokyo, and it's very Japanese as such, but it's a first-person shooter, and those have never been popular in Japan. Okay, so it's not
Mhm.
really the type of game that goes after the Japanese market, essentially. Really, so
Well, force them to make an Evil Within 3, man. Like the horror
Yeah.
Their
games
next
are
game.
super popular. Yeah, like
was their
horror
next
games
game.
are super popular in Japan. It would have been fucking huge. Look at Capcom. This is the thing that
Yep.
I think, like literally, I think the guys from Capcom, because Capcom was in a real bad state like a few years ago. Don't know if you guys remember, and they turned it around. How did they turn it around? With big fucking tentpole games that were good. And this is the thing. We're cutting studios. We're doing this. We're doing that. Like I had to quote, Umbra. I mean, I'm sure he didn't make up saying, but like, you're doing too much. Just make fucking good games. Focus on that. Stop focusing. Like, you need to spend the time and the effort and the money, whatever it takes to get out a cadence of good games. You start doing that, and we're going to see it turn around. And people keep arguing against me. It's not about the games. The fuck are we here for if it's not the games? Like, it's a console that plays games. The whole market is games. It's games, 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 people. Bring the fucking games, and we will see this turn around. Like, I would, honestly, it's probably good that I'm not going to the showcase this year, because I would be grabbing executives by the lapels and fucking shaking them and like, it's the fucking games, man.
Oh, you gonna be out
the
there
games.
assaulting people? Oi!
I mean, I assaulted Skill Up. He still won't talk to me.
Oi, mate, that's not a knife. This is a
That's a
knife.
noise. Shake up.
But Blue,
No, but
I
I
cut
get
you
what
off.
you're saying.
Yeah,
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, I broke you.
No, go ahead. I'm
me,
sorry.
me. Shush. No, what I was going to say is so the reason that they quoted, or the reason that they gave, was the fact that just by the numbers, Arkane and Tango were pitching new games. They needed to hire new people. So they had a longer lead time than anybody else on the next game, and they needed more capital, right, to hire those people. But
Correct.
so that's why they were the first, right? Because they had the most investment that needed to happen. But then the other thing that really confuses me is that the ZeniMax head of, I think it was like
Jill.
their accounting head, right?
Oh, so, okay.
Said that they were top heavy. They said they
Yeah.
were about to tip over. And this was needed to keep them afloat or keep them, moving appropriately. And I just like I'm just so confused by that. I'm like, but tell me more. Just tell me more. Why did
I've
that
got
happen?
too many
How did that
studios to
happen?
handle. Like that's what it sounds like. It sounds like whining to me. Like, I've got too many studios to handle. So the solution isn't
But
like
it was ZeniMax. It was the ZeniMax internal, right? So then it like that said that, which sounds like they were kind of
The specific quote from Jill says, "It's hard to support 9 studios across the world with a lean central team with an ever-growing plate of things to do. I think we were about to topple over."
so get help. Like,
Well, that's the problem.
Get-
They were asking for help, and they were like, "Nah, you don't have the budget for us to give you more help." So it's
and
gonna
all
be
these
easier for us
guys
to
who
put
are
you
like
other
Xbox
places.
players don't buy games, get the fuck out, because it's stupid. There's a Game
Yeah.
Pass. Game Pass is there for a reason. You pay for a reason. If it doesn't pay, they would get rid of it. So I don't
It's
want to
Game
hear
Pass
that
or
bullshit.
sales. Exactly
And you know
right.
what?
It's Game
People
Pass
still
or
play,
sales.
still buy the games. So excuse me, fuck right off.
Yeah, fuck off with that shit. Seriously.
It's there for
look
a
at-
reason.
100%. That's 100%. And I said that the other day is like, so what? Now I got to pay for, like, people are like, oh, now you support the game. So what? Now I got to pay for Game Pass and I got to buy the game? The
Right,
fuck
I'm
what the
is
hell
that?
not
is
here
Game
to
Pass
be
in?
a corp. I'm not here to
Agreed.
represent the corporation. The corporation provided this as an option to me. I pay for it legitimately. So if it doesn't work for them, they should remove it or raise the price or do whatever it is accordingly. That is not
Exactly.
my problem.
I'm not going to go and buy Hellblade 2 because it's
But
dropping
I
on
also
Game
buy
Pass.
games that I really
I
like.
think you raised
And
Garuda's voice
Game
too much.
Pass. Hold on.
Sorry.
And Game Pass
Scared
is
the
a
hell out of me.
reason- No, I'm getting mad now. And Game
Me
Pass
too, I
is a
get-
reason that
yeah.
I've went and bought a lot of games that I would have never bought because I wouldn't have wanted to invest in that game because I wasn't sure about it. but I enjoyed it so much that when I knew I really loved it, I went and bought it. So you can't tell me that nobody's buying games. It's not true.
I agree.
I mean, by their own words, Sarah Bun, if you all remember, guess a few quarters back was talking about how Game Pass has facilitated better sales, and that those in Game Pass buy more games. So, what exactly is again the metric? I don't understand. I get it. It's a tough. I guess the market is tough because not only is everything being stagnant, not just for Xbox but for PlayStation as well. Even Nintendo, in some ways, not as detrimental, I think, as Sony and Microsoft as far as hardware sales and things of that nature, and even software sales in some cases. But it's become stagnant. So I get that. So then I feel like what does this tell everybody else under your umbrella? Because as somebody mentioned it a minute ago, mental health wise, how are we expecting them to even put out quality games when they're worried about if they're going to have any sustainability as far as their job goes? I think this move right here not only sends a signal to us, um, as far as maybe, hey, we got to just go buy the games, which is antithetical to what they told us with Game Pass being the thing that we needed to support, but also to the devs saying, hey, uh, you all are on the clock and you're going to have to produce games that sell well, which is a crazy thing to expect now because what you can't even guarantee what's going to sell well. Quality games are not even selling well like that. So how do you just say, all right, put out a great game? Well, they did that with Hi-Fi Rush, and it still wasn't enough. So now I'm worried. I'm worried again. What about these other studios what about the Double Fines? What about the Compulsions? Are
Umbra,
those games
you
going to
kind
be in
of
trouble?
you said something earlier, Umbra, about like making it clear as to what the metrics are. Like, because I think Game Pass does this thing that like most subscription services do, which is for a lot of people, if it's always going to be there, the FOMO isn't as large, right? So like you can have a game that hits Game Pass, and then people can be like, oh, I'll get to that later, unless the FOMO is really really built up where they're hearing a bunch of people talking about it and they're like, I got to play that game right now. So if they're looking at a game that hits Game Pass, it's not enough for us that we're subscribed to Game Pass. It's like how many people are downloading and then playing the game, right? Because that has to count towards whatever metric they're looking at to see if it's successful or not. Like I myself have not completely played Hi-Fi Rush because I'm like, oh, it's in Game Pass. I will get to it. It's in my backlog.
Yes.
But you know what I'm saying? But it falls to that situation where it's kind of like, well, that doesn't let Microsoft know if that game was good enough for a bunch of people to be like, I'm subbed because I know I can play this game. This is one of the games I want to play and why I'm part of this subscription service. So like the only way that you kind of like the sale of the game is going to be the only thing that really definitively shows the interest level, right? And it kind of sucks that it's in that point where it's like it's not enough to be subscribed to it. The games that you're really concerned with for the studios that you're like, I don't want Microsoft to ask them, you got to play the damn game as well. So that way Microsoft sees that like it's like that, you know what I'm saying? It's bringing people into the service and everyone went and grabbed it.
But you know what's crazy?
Nailed a good point.
But I'm sorry, Garuda. What makes another point to that is again, as was just pointing out in the chat by who was this? Nick Gibbs, Nike BS Nick Gibbs, I'm gonna say. It's a good point because Aaron Greenberg did absolutely say, hey, Hi-Fi Rush hit every metric, it exceeded expectations, right? But that doesn't even seem to be the case because now we're hearing details that says, well, the reason they were closed is because they were pitching a game and didn't have anything properly in production. So anybody who was pitching a game instead of already being in production, that's why they got X'd versus anybody else.
Well, if you run with that ethos through your entire business, that's just zero sum, right? You're
Exactly.
going to end up eventually with no studios.
Right. That's what I'm saying. What sense does that even make? So who I don't get it, man. And then that's why I say like it's going to stagnate creativity because who the hell wants to try to make a new IP then, which we all know is tough to even get it to sell. You're going to have to stick with something that you know is going to do well now. So it's that creativity is going to be stagnated. People are going to quit the studios and go to elsewhere. I'm sure they're going to have some, non-competes and stuff like that. But I don't see how anybody could feel safe if you're not somebody in ABK right now. I'll put it to you like that. And even they have to be worried right now. It's 30,000 employees with Microsoft now. They're going to cut more people to make this work for them.
Oh yeah, they're literally. I know they're cutting more people. They're talking about it in meetings like right now. It's like, and I got told initially that Bethesda was safe, but what that got clarified to was Bethesda Studios are safe. So we're not losing any more Bethesda Studios, but we're definitely going to lose some more out of Bethesda, and we're probably going to lose a lot more out of ABK. But saying this in the chat, someone who I've been going back and forth with on Twitter since time immemorial, said something that I actually agree with just one time. So finally, good work. He said Xbox is turning ABK, which is something that SkillUp said in his video, and I recommend you go watch that. It's a fucking brilliant video. He's all over it. Honestly, that dude, everything he says I agree with. But he said that we were hoping that Xbox would turn ABK into Xbox, but what it seems like is happening is ABK is turning Xbox into ABK.
More like it's turned Microsoft into ABK. Because again, I don't think this is a field and team level thought process. They just said, hey, this will help bolster Game Pass and everything else. Microsoft saw the numbers that they were bringing in and how it carried everything else as far as the revenue they brought in and said, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is just all of this reeks of is higher corporate meddling. That's exactly what it feels like. And I think you see it. You can see it in how Sarah Bond looked the other day. Now, she knew, of course, what was going to happen. Look at her position. Of course, she knew what happened. So it's not like she was surprised, but I'm sure she wasn't a part of the thought of let's get rid of these studios, which goes contrary to her previous words. Same with Phil. That's why he's ghosting right now. And Phil is usually front facing and will say what's up. But I know this is affecting them too. And I'm not trying to, for those who are like, oh, who cares about them, the devs? I get it. I'm just saying, I know this wasn't something they were like, yeah, we got to do this. This, I feel, was somebody above them. And Microsoft sees the money they make. Yeah, it's got to be corporate meddling, in my opinion. And yeah, because it only makes sense that they're saying we need to get the big money makers out there, and I guess kind of put yourself in their shoes. If you're the Satyas or the Amy Hoods of the world, and you're used to all these millions upon billions even, and you have a studio in ABK and you know, the money maker in COD, should I say, and it's bringing in billions a year. And then you have this other studio down below that's taking money away from you and it's not really earning anything back. You're probably going to be like, all right, we need to get rid of this one then. And that's how they look at it. They don't look at it from the standpoint of how we look at it.
They're not looking at it from the nuances of like, hey, there's value still in the studio that, you know, they only sold 800,000 copies of a particular game. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't care about that. It's more numbers, unfortunately.
Exactly.
Well, like, the reason I don't think any of this is Booty, Bond, and Spencer is because, like you said, Umbra, it completely contradicts. It's in complete contrast to all the messaging that they've given us over the past 3 years. In fact, it's completely against what they said only a couple of months ago in that roundtable State of the Nation thing they did. There is nothing about what just happened with these 4 studio closures that falls in line with what they've been talking about. And that's how you know it's corporate. And also we've barely had a statement from Spencer or anyone. I don't think he's been completely radio silent. He knows what mess this was going to cause. He knows that, you know, nothing he says is really going to make it any better at the moment because it wasn't his decision. It's obvious. What do you do?
But I will say this: Phil's got a interview booked with Ryan McCaffrey from IGN coming up, so he is going to get out there.
Get ready for the corpo speak, bro.
Speaking of Ryan, look, Ryan actually had a really good article he posted the other day. I'm not sure if you guys saw it. Did you all check that out?
The soul of Xbox, basically, how this like an internal struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a lot of us are saying right now, is that it feels like, you know, because you exactly, Garuda, it's something different from what we heard just literally months ago as to what their strategy was. And so basically it feels like there's this tug of war of what, you know, Phil's camp is trying to do as to they understand the gaming market, what they want to do, versus what, like, you know, maybe Amy and people who are just looking at the numbers want to do. And we just got to hope that when it's all said and done, they don't completely destroy the brand.
Yeah, agreed. And games are the most important thing. A couple of things in the chat that I just want to address. And guys, I know this is a bit of a negative conversation. It was always going to be. Apologies. We do love Xbox. This is why we're talking this way. But please hit the like button, share us out. We go live every Friday EST. I haven't heard from this developer. I don't think she's going to make it, unfortunately. I hope she's okay as well. A couple of things that were said. There was at least we're getting a Fallout earlier. I disagree with Jez on that. I don't think that's what's going on. I don't think they're shifting development to Fallout. There is apparently a Fallout 3 remake in the works. So maybe they're putting more development on that, but I wouldn't. I disagree. I don't think they're shifting for at all. I don't think it's got anything to do with Fallout.
I would say though, I think that has some credence though. I don't know if that's true, but I don't think Microsoft was prepared for the success of Fallout. I think this right here kind of made them look at it too, and then they're looking at this as one of those high value targets now too, and saying, hey, okay, we do need to really focus on these games that can really sell well. That might be some truth to that. I'm not going to. You might be right, but I think that has some basis. At least it seems like in reality.
Possibly, but I would put Obsidian on that directly after they've dropped out of Out. I would be like, if out, get Obsidian on that, or get another studio on that, or whatever the hell they're going to do, just do it. But I don't think that this move is expressly because I think it might help them to get a Fallout a little bit sooner, but it's not because I don't think it's because of that.
It might be part of the factors they're thinking, but you're right. I wouldn't say it's like, that's why we got to do this. I'll ask you all a question though, and because I don't know if you would ask this, Risk. And however you all want to do it. Just a real quick question. Do you guys think because of moves like this that, and I've said this before, I've asked it again, and I see like people were celebrating because Sarah Bond seemingly suggested that, yes, all their games will be coming to Game Pass. Do you all still believe that COD, a high-valued game and that's bringing in billions a year, do they want to undercut that by putting it into Game Pass without at least putting it into a tiered system where you got to pay more for Game Pass?
It's not as big of a loss as you think. I'm going to circle back to that one because it's a big one, if that's all right. I got that written down, but I just wanted to finish off on that. Why I think that this is happening. Not think. Why they did this, I don't know. But what I do know is that when they bought ABK, in the time that they announced ABK to the time that the purchase was complete, ABK had put on over 3,000 developers. That's a fact. You can go and look it up. The metrics end at 2022, but at the beginning of 2022, they put on over 2,000 developers. That was to get Diablo, and what was the other big one they had launching? Diablo and COD out the door. How could you forget COD? And basically what I've heard is that would have sent ABK bankrupt if Xbox hadn't acquired them. So they would have been insolvent because of just the sheer amount of wage increase that they had between 2022 and 15 months later. So I think when we look at the urgency of return on investment, I think that's got a lot to do with it, and it really does make sense. Whether that's true or not, that's what I've been told. So circling back to Call of Duty, I put up and I tagged, like, I hate tagging in corpos because it makes you look like a little bitch, but I did tag him in. And I wanted to tell him a bit of a story about Call of Duty, and I'll say it here now. So I went down to my hairdressers. You can tell it's beautiful. Look at it. Look, I went down to my hairdresser, and we'll have it.
You called it.
We'll have it. Yeah. My barber. It's a barber. All right.
Okay, there you go. Okay, because I was okay. I'm just wanting.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help you out.
It's a man place. I swear. So I went down there. I'm talking to this. He's a kid. He was probably about 20, in his early 20s. Talking to him, shooting the shit. He's a PlayStation guy. I'm like, ugh. But anyway, so we're having a conversation, right? And I'm like, why PlayStation? He's like, my friends are over there. I had an Xbox in the 360 days, but I switched to the PS4 days because my friends switched over. And then my friends are over there, and I just got my library over there. I'm like, all this shit that we know, right? I'm like, that's you, dude. You are textbook fucking casual. I'm like, what do you play? And he's like, oh, mostly FIFA and COD. I'm like, oh no shit. I'm like, you heard of Game Pass? He's like, yeah, I heard of Game Pass, man. He goes, didn't Xbox buy COD? And I was like, yeah, man, they just bought ABK. And he's like, oh, cool, yeah. He goes, I was talking to my friends about COD, and like, if COD hits Game Pass, we were all talking about getting Xboxes and switching over. And I'm like, well, FIFA's in there too. So like that's just from a complete random dude. Like, he's already talking and considering if Microsoft makes this move to go buy an Xbox. The value isn't in the sales. And this is the thing, like, where I think the bean counters lose sight. The value isn't always in the sales, and maybe they're not trying to win the console war anymore. But fuck, wouldn't it be great if they sold another 10 million units, or if they sold another 5 million units, or if they sold another fucking 100,000 units of Xboxes because they put COD in fucking Game Pass? Other thing is, and I'll kick to you, Garuda, because I can see you're itching. The other thing is, you don't know what effect that's going to fucking have. This is what, when I tagged him in, I'm like, you guys don't know because you haven't tried. You dropped the ball before you made the effort. Like, it's like turning up to fucking a game. I don't know, what do you guys play over there? Gridiron, whatever that is. It'd be like turning up to a game, making it to the fucking 5-yard line. Is there a 5-yard line? 10-yard line. Making it to the, I don't know what yards you have.
A 5-yard, yeah, but gridiron is not what we call it. I just want to, yeah.
It's gridiron. So it's not, you don't use your feet, right? So you can't call football. It's the thing, right? You mostly just throw it.
Oh Lord,
so it's like handball.
Again.
Is it handball?
We do use our feet. We kick punts and field goals with it. And
yeah, once a game. It's like, oh, they're going to use their feet this time.
It's
How amazing!
Foosball, Bobby Boucher.
Oh.
But like, they made it to the
slander right here.
They made it to the
right.
They made it to the 10-yard line, right? And then they just dropped the ball and walked away, like, and just handed the match over, like 10-yard line. They're down by 50. I don't know how does the point system work. This is a bad analogy because I've got no idea about foosball. But you get what I'm saying, man.
You're going somewhere with this, right? You got something. Bring us home.
He's rambling. He's rambling.
Rambling man.
Look, I'm curious about the analogy. I'm like, where's this analogy going to take us to?
They haven't made the effort. They had everything set. All the chips were set. They got to a point where they could really do some damage, to the competition within the industry. And they just dropped the ball and walked away, man. And they stepped on every fucking rake like they possibly could on the way. And if they didn't bring Call of Duty to Game Pass, like, if you think I'm bitching now, you were going to fucking hear some hardcore Aussie bitching, like, if that happens. But she's already confirmed it. So I think she will. Garuda, I'm going to kick to you because I can see
some quality whinging.
Is
you guys call it whinging, right? You're going to some quality whinging over there.
Yeah, whinging. Yeah. So look, anything sort of surrounding Game Pass. Look, Game Pass to me, it really is what Xbox is to me now. As you guys know, I don't have an Xbox anymore, but I still love Xbox, and Game Pass in particular. It's what really, it got me back into gaming after sort of not a complete hiatus, but from a time where I might play one game a year because life was really busy, or I was feeling a little bit disheartened with the games that were coming out, or whatever it was. Game Pass, when I realized what this was, I was like, man, all of this for this? And I kept thinking back to, when I was 10 years old, imagine if I had Game Pass. Like, I literally never would have came out of the room, man. Like, it would have been amazing. And it is. It's like a dream come true to me, right? So, and it makes me play, and it encourages me to play more games and different types of games that I never would have played before. We've all heard the reasons why Game Pass are good. We've all waxed lyrical about what it is and how good it is for the consumer, right? And that's why I love it, and that's why I preach it. And that's why I go into defense mode anytime anyone wants to kind of criticize or blame Game Pass for something or talk down about Game Pass. I will be there. I'm the Game Pass defense force, right? Now, if you think that there is a negative connotation and a dark cloud over the Xbox brand right now, if they don't put Call of Duty and every single one of their first-party games into the service like they said they have, you've seen nothing yet. It will be unprecedented backlash against a brand that you have never seen before, and it will hurt the brand. If they haven't hurt the brand beyond repair this week, they certainly will if the latest Call of Duty, Gulf War or whatever it is, doesn't come into the service, especially after they've been very clear recently in saying that they will put it there. And I have seen the thing that Sarah Bond said it is going to be going into Game Pass. And look, that might have been a last second decision because they may have realized that look, we can't leave this out because the damage will be irreparable.
She
There's
didn't
a
quite
number that they're
say
looking
COD,
at, though, right? There's a number that I think they have to be looking at in terms of like how many people would purchase versus sub into Game Pass who play COD annually, right? And obviously, if it's 5 million or whatever that number is, anything
Did you
is
say
better
annually?
No, I'm talking about in terms of additional people who will end up subbing, right? They have to have a number that they're saying we want to have it on Game Pass and we'll get these many more people to sub to get it versus who's going to buy it outright.
Right, but these numbers and metrics should have been well understood and well identified a long time before we got to the point where we're considering whether or not Call of Duty should be going in there. Okay,
I agree.
It's not our fault. It's not our problem now as a consumer that they might be having trouble with meeting the numbers they need to meet because they've numerous times promised us and assured us that this is what it is. See, the thing about Game Pass that Xbox needs to understand is it's either sub numbers or it's sales. You don't get both. One metric is going to take the hit. You need to choose where you want to be. And every single part of their marketing, everything that they've been talking about and the whole business strategy over the past 5 to 6 years has been yeah, well, okay. The business strategy that they've pushed to us all has been Game Pass. And to the point where some people have thought that, they're leaning too heavily into the Game Pass thing. Okay. So you can't suddenly pivot and take that away. You've conditioned your consumer to subscribe to the service and play your first party games on that service day one. They have conditioned us to be that way. Okay. Why put it this way? Why would Hellblade comes out in less than a couple of weeks. Why would I go and purchase that game? You tell me why I would do that. I'm waiting. There's no reason for anyone to go and purchase that game when I can just get it in the sub-service that likely we're not even paying for because those who are savvy enough use their rewards points for that anyway. Okay? So they have to understand that those two metrics, they don't come together. You have to pick a lane and you have to follow it, or just back out of Game Pass altogether and say, this doesn't exist anymore, it's failed.
I wouldn't put it past Microsoft to do that, to force them into that.
Neither would I. And if they do, that's where I walk away.
I'll tell you what.
I'm sorry, I walk away.
We will learn the viability of Game Pass if when they put it in there, if they don't still find that if these numbers are not growing the service, right? So you put COD in there and these numbers are not growing the service, then that's when you're going to find a hard decision on Game Pass. Because I bet you they're thinking, we get games like COD, people are going to stay sub to because they play it all year long. So it more than makes up for the initial cost of purchase of the game that we're missing out on. If that doesn't make that number grow up, where it's not this 1% growth that they've been seeing the last couple of years, then that's when we'll see if they're going to say, you know what, we maybe need to kind of dial back and change course on the Game Pass strategy.
That's a really good point. Maybe they're going to test it. Maybe this is the test. I want to read a bit of this because people kind of like celebrated, I thought, when they heard the whole Sarah Bond thing. And I thought it was kind of dodgy. I thought it was kind of corpo. I don't think it was direct as people have made it out to be. So she was in an interview and this was what was said. The last piece is about Game Pass. We know our core users love Game Pass. Game Pass is a gaming subscription. You get a whole portfolio of games, but importantly, you get every single one of the games we build day one in Game Pass and the quality, blah, blah, blah. So she asks, does that include Activision games? From Activision portfolio and she says across the whole slate, you're going to see some really amazing things, and keeping that as something that is really special for Xbox players is central to us. She knew that lady meant Call of Duty. That Activision thing was just a little, if you told somebody, any of us, if you said, hey, what about Activision games? You're not going to be thinking, WoW or Diablo. You're going to, because we already know Diablo is going to the service now, albeit 7 months, 6 months late, whatever, however long it was. She does not specifically, say anything to COD. So I'm not quite sold on that. I still believe they're going to find some way, be it raising the price of Game Pass and putting the more premium games at a top higher tier, which will be the new Ultimate, or it just won't go to Game Pass. I'm telling you, something tells me they're going to try to pull something.
They better not do that.
Yeah, I
bro.
mean,
I swear.
I think they have. I think they have no choice. If literally, if the numbers aren't making sense, they're probably going to have no choice. They're going to have to reassess.
Look,
They
I
can
think
close down
they're
the
gonna
Microsoft store if they do that.
They're gonna do this because they don't know what it's gonna do. That's the only reason I think they're gonna do it. They're gonna see what this does for Game Pass, because as Donte said, this is the game that if this does not move the needle for your service, then nothing's gonna move the needle. Nothing else you can do is gonna move the needle. If I were them, I would have had like a show where I would have had World of Warcraft ported by now. They've had like, a good, 15 months, however long they've had. I would have been working on a port, and I would be announcing World of Warcraft going into Game Pass on console in this show coming up with COD. Now, if that doesn't move your Game Pass needle, like nothing will. And then Game Pass is days are numbered. Someone in the chat said Game Pass's days are numbered. And I'm like, I 110%
I agree with that, Risk.
And
I agree with that.
I wouldn't blame them. Or if the games aren't numbered, and I wouldn't have a problem with them doing this, because if it means the health of the ecosystem, then I'm fine with it. Whatever decision they make, I'm fine with it. I might criticize it, and I could be wrong, but if it means the health of the ecosystem, then just fucking do it. Like whatever it is, rip the Band-Aid off and get it done. But if they start to go case by case, so if they did a case by case thing where they were like, look, our big AAAs, our CODs, our big banging games, they're not going in for 3 months, right? No. Everything else will go in day and date. You could be a no, but for me, I'd be like, cool. Well, I don't need to sub to Game Pass because I will just now buy my games. That's fine.
I think that needs to be. I think that has to be a tier. It has to be a tier change, because the whole day and date has been like your moniker of selling Game Pass since its inception, right? So I think if anything, you can't do the 3 months. You can say here's a higher tier that those games are going to be there immediately, and then everything else is in the lower tier. But if you do like if you change on day and date and you say 3 months, that's going to cause a revolt. You're going to have people up in arms about that, what I believe.
Hey,
if you diminish the value of Game Pass, or God forbid they pivot and say Game Pass isn't working, I'll tell you what they can do. They can go ahead and close down the Microsoft Game Store, and they can close down the Xbox Store as well, because no one is going to buy their games there anymore. They're all going to buy them through Steam. I know the console guys will, but it's an ever diminishing market. It's an ever diminishing metric. You can keep the Xbox Store open, but it'll be barely worth it, because nobody will buy their games there. They won't.
What do you think, Holly?
Can we talk for a second about this whole store, Microsoft store, that they're supposed to be opening in July?
The mobile one?
Mobile? Talking about mobile?
Anybody literally care at all about that? They pushed it kind of hard in that interview, and I was just like, why do I care?
I brought it up on the show yesterday, and everybody was like, whatever.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people saying it was going to be huge on Twitter, and I was like, what am I missing? I mean, just legitimately, what am I missing?
Bad timing for the announcement, Holly, I think.
Well,
do you know,
I just don't get what the appeal of a mobile store is, I guess.
The option is cool, but like when it's like going up against Steam. The like Apple and Google stores are now just too well developed, too big. They just can't compete. Like it's not a bad idea to open the store and build it over time. But at this point, like, who gives a fuck? Like, I agree. Who gives a fuck? Give me some console games. Like,
that was just an announcement for the top brass, man. All that is it's about bottom line. It's another numbers announcement. Fuck off.
So Kay asked a really good question in the chat. Riz, did you see it?
Let me scroll.
It's
surprising because Kay doesn't normally have good takes or ask good questions. But
you hear that, Kay Asante, brother?
Don't take that slander, Kay.
Don't do it.
Don't take that slander.
What if you as a consumer know that COD going into Game Pass will mean other studio closures? Would you be okay with that? No, I'm not.
Absolutely
I'm
not.
not. Yeah, I'm not like Garuda. Like Game Pass isn't the a all and be all for me. I was like gaming before there was Game Pass, and I'll be gaming after there's Game Pass. And I buy a fucking shitload of. I think I've spent $2,000 on games last year, maybe over that. But like, I will spend a shitload of money on games. I don't care. But don't close these. Like, could you? Like, if we just start closing every studio that fucks up, like I couldn't go through the amount of studios that have had a bad game and their next game has been the critically acclaimed banger. Like, how many studios have we?
What's going to happen
Rocksteady.
with Rocksteady if you do that?
CD Project Red. I mean, I'm worried about Rocksteady. Like CD Project Red. Like they.
Hey! You can't slander me when I'm AFK, bro. No.
You heard me.
If CD Projekt Red was Microsoft at this time and they launched Cyberpunk, do you think that studio would survive? I don't think they would.
I mean, but I think they still made a shit ton of money off of that game, though. Like, yeah, it was rough when it launched, but they still sold a lot of copies of it.
Yeah, it's a trash game though. Still is.
I mean, I enjoy the game, but I'm saying the game in terms of metric wise, which is what they care about, is did it sell? And it's like, yeah, it sold.
It did sell. But I mean, like, but Hi-Fi Rush did good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, is it just sales? Because if it's just sales, then every single Microsoft studio is going to close down because it's going into Game Pass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now that's why I said it's troublesome, because Game Pass itself necessitates. At least I guess cuts into sales. Yep. So how are they going to try to balance that out? I don't get it. It does not
if
seem
revenue
to
would
make
be
sense.
higher. If revenue would be higher and Game Pass subs went up like they probably were projecting, I don't think some of this happens.
Yep, I agree.
I think they expected to see themselves at probably 35 to 40 million.
40-some million, yep. Because
right,
the plan was 100 million, I think, and by 2026 was it or something?
It was. But to that point, Donte, they have themselves to blame for that, because their release cadence for their games is way too slow. The other thing is some of their games came out and straight up flopped because they were shit and they had no quality control and they let them release in terrible states. And then they're going to turn around and say, oh, we're disappointed in the metrics. Like, bruh, you did this.
In fairness, I will say that it's too early. Because, Redfall, which I know is one of the games that we're probably talking about for what you just said there, that was
but Forza Motorsport was a flop too, man. I'm calling that a flop.
Right.
Yeah,
that had 70. That had triple the development time.
To do. Right. I mean, you're gonna have hits or misses, right? So like Horizon does gangbusters, Motorsport maybe it doesn't hit their metrics. Redfall is a game that a studio did not want to make and that they were forced to make by ZeniMax, right? So I felt that they needed the opportunity, now that you're underneath the umbrella of Xbox, to now go ahead and do what you do best. Make the type of games that you make best. Let us give you the tools and some time to do so. And then we'll see what happens, like a year or two down the line for whatever your next project is. Unfortunately, currently what we're seeing right now happening with the gaming market changes all that. Whereas we don't have the time to give you the leeway. We don't have the time to basically sit there and say, all right, what's your next project? Pitch it to us. How many more people need to bring on? Nah, the numbers aren't working, and Amy Hood them aren't going to sign off on that.
Yeah,
I think that's an unfortunate reality of some of what's happening.
The trouble is that if that's the case, Donte, and Amy Hood and the top dogs are pushing back on those things and saying no, that's going to require too many recent push. Brother. Yeah,
I forgot
you've rattled me.
I forgot he was approved. I forgot all about that.
Oh, come on.
You done messed them up. You see what you did.
If I was approved, my son wouldn't be 23 years old, bro.
Ooh, brother. Ooh, what is brother?
Oh, yeah. Push back again. You ready for it, Garuda?
I'm blushing. I'm actually red.
Oh, man.
Shit, man. Yeah, okay, I'm going to get back on track. If Amy Hood and the like are pushing back and saying, see, I did it again. We're going to be mature this time.
There we go.
they're in complete contradiction of who they've put in place to run the business. You can't do that. Both parties, I'm talking about Spencer, Booty, and Bond, need to be on the same page as Satya and these guys. And it doesn't seem like they are. Clearly,
Yeah,
they're not.
but in any business, you're going to have that, right? Like my bosses are like, you just like, there's things that I want to do this. And they're like, no, you got to do this because of X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, but what if X, Y, and Z further down the track? And they're like, doesn't matter. It needs to look good for this P&L. So you do X, Y, Z now. Like that.
But they've confused their consumer base. They've confused us all.
They don't give a fuck. They don't want to confuse their shareholder base. That's the main thing. Just quickly, I'll just jump in and on that too. Victor Alistine with the $5 super chat. Thank you very much, brother. He says, I think the Xbox mobile store was supposed to fund most of gaming, but the EU hasn't been able to open up Apple and Google's walled gardens, which has billions, and it does. But I think even if they opened up Apple and Google, pause, it's not going to make a hell of a lot of difference. I don't think it's gonna have that cash flow initially to fund anything. I think it's a start, but again, it's going back to what you were saying, Garuda. It's shareholders, man. Like those P&Ls, those profit and loss statements that you have every quarter, they mean a lot, and there is always consequences and repercussions from a P&L that's not doing well. If you're not hitting your targets, there's consequences and repercussions. And wherever you got to make decisions, like no one wants to make these hard decisions. I'm sure if like everyone's P&Ls were like awesome all the time, they'd just be like, fucking A, like we're all good. Like we'll just keep doing what we're doing because it's working. When something's not working, you've got to do things that you don't want to do. And I get
but
that.
why aren't they
And that's
communicating that to us? They're not
That's
communicating
capitalism,
it to us.
but the problem
going
but because that's a hard fucking pill to sell everyone, right? We're doing this because of cash, right? But like the problem that I have is when you have a business that requires art, right? You're selling art. This is what it is. It's an artistic business, and you're selling art. And art and capitalism don't really fucking go together that well, because for art to work, you got to play the long game, right? There's always and they're just, I think at this point they've completely lost sight, or the bean counters are pushing them, and they've lost sight of the long game. Like there is a long game here, and I think PlayStation does it and knows it very well. Like we found out recently through this generation that their games don't really sell that well, but the perception is of their console is that it's fucking high quality and that they got the quality game. Like, you know what I mean? Like they've created that perception around their console because of what they've done. Now that hasn't been profitable for them monetarily immediately. That was the long game, because now they have a perception of the brand. You know what I mean? Like that's where Microsoft sucks dick, because they can, no offense, Microsoft, love you guys,
brother.
That's where Microsoft's bad, because they pivot their strategy too often and they step on rakes. If they could just be consistent with messaging, put out a consistent slew of games, then we wouldn't. I don't think you'd be seeing these studio closures.
Agreed, but this is what frustrates me the most. They just had all their ducks in a row ready to kick ass, man. They honestly fell over face first at the finish line. Bro, how they couldn't see this, this, I will never know.
They laid down.
I think the market dictates some of this as well, right? If gaming would be doing better and Microsoft would be doing better, I think we probably wouldn't be having these conversations. I think I saw a problem. I don't know if it's true, but I think seeing Hi-Fi go over to PlayStation and not perform very well should have kind of let us know that there was a concern there. I think that was kind of like the potential lifeline to say, you know, like if they need to get to any cost cutting, if it went over to PlayStation and did well, probably Tango still exists.
Yeah.
But since it didn't, unfortunately, I think that kind of was like,
the last
we can't even get we can't even get this game over there to sell the way we want it to, where it's not on a subscription service, and it didn't move the needle at all. And I think it was that was like their last kind of Hail Mary. Don't know if it's true or not, but a part of me feels that.
I think that makes some sense. That makes some sense though, but then you have to look at the other games. What now of Rare then, if that's the case, right? But Rare is doing well, so I guess we can kind of
Well,
X it out.
Sea of
Rare,
Thieves is-
Obsidian.
Sea of Thieves in
Um,
particular.
No.
Who
Obsidian.
made Psychonauts? Who made Psychonauts?
Yeah, Double Fine.
Double Fine.
That's the one
Like,
I'm worried
fuck,
about
man.
too. Yeah.
That will be a huge PR disaster if they shut Double Fine, a studio that's been
Absolutely.
going since the 90s. Tim
Yep.
Schafer's well loved and respected in the community. They've been going for a very, very long. That will be just a PR disaster.
Matter
I'm
of
worried
fact,
about that.
one of the
They did an
things-
entire
Ninja Theory and
video when
Obsidian.
they purchased them too.
That's
about
right.
how it was securing them in their future.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well,
what I
they
was
added
about
the
to say.
bosses back into the game for Psychonauts 2 that they left out because the budget didn't allow it.
Yeah,
so
they did.
Microsoft's money allowed them to put those bosses back in the game and make it the Game of the Year contender that it was. They've done nothing but praise Xbox for what they've done for the studio. If they go ahead and but it's no secret, Double Fine, Obsidian, Ninja Theory, they probably don't make money for Microsoft. What's to say they didn't just go?
That's what Holly hit it right on the head. I mean, the worry is because they're going against their word already. We see that already. So they promised in that video, they were like, oh, we did this, not promised, but they made this declaration like we did this to give them financial freedom at least, or, to stop them from closure. So what happens now if, they're pitching a new game and all of a sudden it's like, nah, you're not making us anything. I don't know.
What
And
is Garuda
I
up
would
to? You
ask,
playing with
I would,
dolls?
I would ask
playing
that
with
too,
dolls
by the
back
way.
there?
No, I'm
hell's going
burning
on?
candles and like I can smell something like burning, and I'm like, is something catching on fire?
Dude's playing with dolls. Victor
I was gonna ask-
Allenstein with the
Oh,
Victor
go ahead,
Allenstein with the Shiloh Super Chat. He says mobile opens subs to billions with phones. It does open it up. That doesn't mean they're going to advertise it right. It doesn't mean they're going to handle it right. That doesn't mean that you know what I mean? Like they got to start doing some hardcore push advertising. Like get a budget, get a fucking team together, put Aaron Greenberg at the head of it because I know that it's the budget that constricts him. I know that. Give him the budget and let him market the fuck out of Xbox and everything Xbox is doing. Don't give him a budget per game. Give him a fucking huge budget through the year, and he markets how he wants, man. Like that's.
I
need
doubt
to do
they're
something.
going to increase their marketing. But by the way, because they already closed some of the marketing jobs, even in Bethesda. By the way, I just don't see
know,
it
right?
going. But by the way, I was going to ask. We see the situation with Toys for Bob, right? And how, because we asked, well, why was Toys for Bob? Why did they let them go without seemingly having to buy their way out? We've seen it happen with Bungie, for instance, where they had to buy their way out essentially and give up the Halo IP. But
we
now,
said it at the time. We said it at the time. We said it's either
absolutely.
they're probably going to close it or they bought themselves out.
See, right. So, and now we haven't heard any reports about Toys for Bob buying their way out. They were just released. So why didn't they do the same for Tango, for Roundhouse or Austin, or Arkane Austin? Why were they shuttered instead of given some opportunity to, I guess, be let free and put in a third party situation too? That's what I would wonder.
I know. I think Toys for Bob's much loved right there, right? Like I think it's on that Double Fine sort of level too, because they've been around since like time immemorial. They've been around for like years. So I don't know. I think Toys for Bob might be on that level, but I'm betting as well, Umbra. We might not have heard about it, but I'm betting there's a monetary thing going on in the background. It's like, we're making this game and we're going to give it to you exclusively. Let us go and handle ourselves. We'll fund it or something like that. Like I guarantee you there's something in the background with that we don't know about. 110%. Otherwise, either that or they just didn't know that people like Tango and I get Arkane. I get it, but Tango, like this is for all the reasons we've talked about. Like it's a Japanese studio. They made a much loved game. Like what? And then you get up in a town hall and you're like, we need to make small games that are prestigious. Like what the fuck, Matt? Like I love Matt. Like Matt has that dude has got some fucking high energy. When I met that dude, I was like, holy, when someone like turns to you and starts talking and you're like, Jesus. Like that's what Matt's like. He's like, fuck yeah. You're like, whoa, Matt. He's got some energy and we see he's a tiger in the background because of those emails, but like that is tone deaf as fuck. And he messed up the Lord of the Rings reference. So that's also not cool, right?
What
A lot
did
of
he
the
say?
stuff that Booty
He said-
says doesn't
he said-
translate to
he
what he
said-
does.
He said peanut butter spread over too thin over. That's not what the line is, man.
No,
It's
even
butter
worse is he
spread too
he
thinly.
screwed up
Like-
the name of one of the studios. that they cut.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know who they are. Shut them down. Tango, never heard of
Who-
them.
Who's that?
Like,
Speaking of
no.
that, I'm glad you kind of said that. By the way, I'll go ahead and get your bars out. I'll ask.
Oh no, I was not really a bar. I was just more like a part of me thinks that like they come to the head of a particular division and say, hey, we got to do some cost cutting. Tell us who do we got to let go and who we need to keep, right? So I don't think that was necessarily just Matt Booty who was just kind of like, boom, I pick you, right? They probably went to ZeniMax, and ZeniMax basically said, hey, based upon XXX, these are the ones, unfortunately, that we're going to have to let go, I believe. And some of that could be based upon, like, unfortunately, performance of previous games. Like, looking at the Evil Within, I think it sold about a little over 1 million, and I think Evil Within 2 sold less than 500,000, right? So it's kind of like, okay, so maybe, yeah, Hi-Fi Rush is good, right? I don't know if it moved the needle enough in terms of the sales that they're wanting, but maybe they needed it to do 5 to 10 million. Who knows? I don't know. But if the next thing that they had, which I know they were pitching Hi-Fi Rush 2, but outside of that, it's kind of like they're probably just looking at it over a period of time, and unfortunately, they just ended up like at the wrong time being the studios that weren't producing as well as the other studios were doing,
or big titles. You know what's crazier about it too with Tango? They are a Japanese-based studio. They don't make a lot over there. Their salary base is way lower than it is over here. It's like somebody in Sweden or something like that. It's way lower than it is over here. Way lower. Like it's nothing.
Yeah, so the
compared to
operating
us.
costs must be a lot less than they are for a Western studio, which makes it
Absolutely.
even more baffling that they let
That
them
makes
go.
it even more egregious because they're not even pulling in that much as far as what they're asking. And they sold, I believe, at least 2 million copies. That wasn't enough to keep them in. I would have thought that would be enough. They sold at least 2 million, probably more. And they brought in the numbers as far as players as Microsoft previously touted as viable for Game Pass, but clearly that wasn't enough. It's crazy all around. By the way, I don't know if you all saw this. This is a little bit of funny breaking news. Phil Spencer just completed the Fallout 76 quest, Officer on Deck. This quest must be completed to launch nukes. It looks like Phil is preparing to launch
He's going to retaliate.
a retaliatory nuke.
It's like you've declared war.
Riz,
I will not
let me
let
share
this
this.
stand.
I want to share this, Riz. Share this out there if you can on the screen, Riz. He's going to launch a retaliatory. He's preparing to launch a retaliatory nuke against the players who nuked his camp.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I thought that was funny as hell. I'm like, Phil, like, oh, you think this is a game? Hold on. But no, I had a question on the thought of, because Phil Riskit was saying something in the way of, oh, Tango, who's that? And it made me think. Go ahead, there it is. I don't know if you can zoom in on it or whatever. No, that's about as far as you can go, I guess. Anyway, it made me think too about some in the community, and I wanted to say this because I spoke on this the other day as well. We have those. I don't want to call them bad faith actors or anything like that, but we have some weirdos in the community who thought it was funny to laugh and mock devs who were fired. And I just thought that's so cold and callous and disgusting, honestly, because it's one thing.
You want to put a name on the bullet, or
I could, but I'm not even. I'm going to be respectful enough not to do that because just off Boom's example, he doesn't name drop anybody out of respect. So I'm going to keep to that tradition. But
also, let's not give them exposure for this shit, bro. Too
right, they have enough.
I'll put a fucking name on the bullet, but
they have enough.
I won't.
They have enough subs as it is, although not true ones. But my point of it is,
you mean the 18,000 subs that they bought? That's that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm
Fake
sure.
ass
I'm sure some of those here who will still go in and give them credence, even though they know they're frauds too. So I'm not even going to go that route. But my whole point is they're not the only ones that's done this, but they're probably one of the more egregious ones because of those who in the community who they influence. And I don't see why, just because a dev studio is now being closed, that you now have to suddenly be like, oh, it's protect Xbox mode. Who cares about them? Oh, well, whatever. if you all get to that point, and I'm talking to you all in the audience and whoever's listening, lurking, if you get to that point where your humanity turns off for you to go a console warrior mode, not
Facts.
only are you an idiot, we don't want you here as somebody that supports. I can tell you that myself. I don't want you to support me. If you're following me, unfollow me. I think that's really disturbing if you're that mentally off, that you're going to put a console over at least showing some humanity for people who lost their jobs. It makes no sense to laugh at them. I can see if you're indifferent and say, well, hey, this is business. That's fine. But if you openly mock and laugh them losing their job, something is wrong with you.
I agree.
Yeah, something's really fucking wrong with you. And, I'm definitely Cold Eastwood with I see money out, dude, L's as per usual. I'm not sure what that means, dude. I just put it up on screen because I couldn't quite read it because it was in the small set thing. But look, Bubba, I will just quickly riff off that. Yeah, look, man, there's a couple of bad actors in the community that just act like anything that Xbox does, they will support. I guess my advice to you is take that Xbox dick out your mouth and start engaging your brain. Now, moving on.
Brother, look at Garuda. You can't look at. He's like, brother.
So Boba Fett Arcane. Honestly, we'll have a conversation after Garuda because I was going to say something then, but that's more of a backroom talk. But Boba Fett just said in the chat, he said,
Wait,
sort of proves my.
You're going to proposition me or something?
We'll have a backroom talk.
What is happening?
What is
What
happening?
is happening?
If you're going to offer me some cake, it didn't work for the other guy. It ain't going
the
to work
cake
for
has
you.
made its way back. What is happening?
But I mean, I'm qualified chef, dude, so I can make more than. Anyway, we'll talk about this later. We'll talk about it later. See his face. He's like, "Damn, I don't want to have this conversation." Just going back to what Boba Fett said in the chat. He said that it proves my point that no one is talking about Arcane. Like we absolutely did, bro. You missed it at the start of the show. Like we're talking about Arcane and the fact that it's unfortunate that they made a bad game. Like it was an objectively bad game. For me, it was a subjectively bad game. It was terrible, but they should have had a second chance. They've also made every other game they've made has been objectively a great game, critically acclaimed, right? So, and that's Arkane Austin, like the actual studio. So they should have had another chance. Like to lose that studio to one game like that is just. It's sort of devastating for don't do that. Start traffic in the chat, man. Don't do that. Like Tim Dog's actually a good friend, so yeah, don't be talking about him like that.
Tim Dog was also largely correct in a lot of what he said, by the way. So far,
yes, vindication for Tim Dog in everything he said, pretty much in that space, man.
Indeed. Now he might have went about it the wrong way, maybe, but.
He did.
He wasn't necessarily wrong.
Yeah, no doubt. He went about like I don't agree with what Tim's doing, but that's what Tim's doing for Tim. Like I ain't Tim, and I'm doing what I'm doing for me. But like, yeah, don't get ad hominem and insult the man because he's actually a really good dude, like a really really nice dude. So he's got time for. He put in a lot of time for. Like he would respond to every message. Like when I had like 2 subs or 2 follows, and I messaged him, he would respond. So and he didn't know me from bar soap. So yeah, don't do that. I still got love for Tim.
And his followers are actually legit, by the way. So that's sorry.
His followers are legit. That's right.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
And Cygnus, don't you go saluting Tim Dog just now because he's on PlayStation. All right. I know what you're doing. I don't like it. I know what you're doing.
He said,
I see you, man.
Tim Dog, get out of here. you ain't shit for that.
Yeah, exactly. So look, Bob Fett, we look, dude, we did talk about Arcane. It's just disappointing that it seems not just Xbox either. This is not shade to Xbox. At this time in AAA, if you fail in a game, is very likely that's the last chance you're gonna have. You don't get a second shot at the moment, and it's really sad that we're at that point. And me and Blue, we've had conversations about what we think, and we have had conversations with the panel as well. But we had a pretty in-depth conversation about what we think people should do. I said make smaller games. like Blue, I'll say to you right now, looks like I was wrong, right? The smaller games aren't helping. Like that's what I thought was going to help the industry. So, at this point, it's pretty tough to sort of look at the whole industry as a whole and go, what's going to fix this? Like get rid of capitalism? That's not going to happen. So, yeah, look, it's crazy. We've talked about this for a really, really long time. It's been a couple of hours, and I want to wrap it up. And I'm sorry we didn't get to we were going to talk about PlayStation, a rare rollback of Helldivers. That was crazy. I love seeing that warmed my heart. And then Xbox had to go step on a goddamn rig.
PCMR.
Personal.
Don't start that PCMR.
See, my PCMR is different. I told you. See, Garuda for me is personal console master race. I'm
He
making
is
a new
ascended.
console. Yes,
This ascended Umbra.
indeed.
Holly, you got anything to say to that? The Ascension?
Yes, Holly joined me in this.
Just a look. She just got the look.
Just a look. Just a look.
Just a silence.
PC has more followers. It's ridiculous.
Look, guys, it's been a disappointing week, and I don't.
I thought you were gonna say something completely different.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
bro.
definitely.
I legitimately
Pause.
thought you were too. Yeah.
It's been a disappointing week, and people would say this is like stupid, right? But it's true. Like when shit like this happens, it bums me the fuck out for the week. Like it bums, like I think about it. I like, obviously, like I said, I went into like find as much information mode as I can, trying to make sense of it. Like it's, if Xbox were to die, it would be like a family member. I know people are going to be like, you're an idiot, but like, it'd be like a family member dying, right? Like, cause I've had an Xbox for over 20 years. So when they make mistakes and they get rid of devs and they close down studios and like it affects me, man. I don't like to see it. And then we come here and we want to talk positively about Xbox, and we got to come in, we got to talk about this, and that affects me as well. It's draining, and I'm really hoping that Xbox can just sort of set the ship right, man, and just start making the right fucking decisions, and at least 3 in a row. You know what I mean? Like save it for the 4th one for the rake, right? Let's just have 3 in a row.
The only way is up. Surely the only way is up.
Let's not do one good decision, one bad decision, one good decision. It's not a shit sandwich, all right? Even though it feels like it. Anyway.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think you hit on, I'm sorry to say this last part, but you hit it on the head, man. Even though me and Garuda are of the ascended type, we still are Team Xbox. Yes.
100%, bro. 100%.
We are Team
That's why
Xbox,
I
and
get
we want them to do
emotional
well.
when they fuck up like that. That's why I get
fairy
emotional.
dust every time he mentions his PC.
Yeah, I know. Sprinkle it on there.
Sprinkles. He's trying to discourage us by doing it like fairy style, but it's only encouraging us. But yes, sprinkle. Go ahead. I see you want to do it. But yes, sprinkle me with magical PC power. But yeah, yes, it, Garuda. Yeah,
Bring it
spirit
back.
finger.
Don't sprinkle me, dog. Bring it back.
You got sprinkled, bro.
Anyway, but I was gonna say, like, for those who are probably feeling the way hearing us go through all this, because I know it gets taxing after a while. You keep hearing the negativity about what's going on, but we can only speak to the situation. We can't sit here and lie to you. You shouldn't lie to yourself. We are Team Xbox, right? And I mean, we love every other platform as well, but not as much, maybe I would say, as Xbox. We love the ecosystem. We love the community. We got love for you guys. I would call you guys chat family. You'll see that, and I mean that, right? The extended family for me, gaming wise. But the thing is you can't sit there and put your identity so far into a product where you can't be real and have real critiques or thoughts on a bad situation. This is not a positive thing. So it's not like we can ignore this and be like, well, I played Halo again. It just doesn't make sense to ignore real, genuine news and things that affect the platform and us as the consumers and as community. So we have to talk on it. We don't have to be super negative. There are some on the opposite spectrum of that who are like, oh, Xbox is done, and oh, I'm selling all of, like, that's an extreme reaction too that people need to be aware of and stay away from too. Let's act accordingly, right? As an old saying somebody told me in a job I worked, they said, we are ladies and gentlemen treating, or at least dealing with ladies and gentlemen. meaning treat people like you want to be treated, talk to them nice like you want them to talk to you nice, and act accordingly. We don't have to jump off the boat, right? But we should
100%.
definitely address a real situation and come to it and speak on it with realness. We should not sit here. You should not want somebody to sit here and lie to you. I'll just put it to you like
100%.
that.
Well said, brother. Well said.
Thank you, brother.
Unless you're talking about my physique. But just to add to that, everyone in the chat, if look at this good-looking man on the fix here with the photo. If you want to see that good-looking man on camera, put a hell yeah in the chat, or a Y, or just some sort of positive when you get this man on camera eventually.
Oh, I want to address this too. Corey C, that is not true right there, by the way. A lot of people were spreading that. That turns out to be untrue. As far as Shinji Mikami leaving, he did not gut that studio. It's untrue. You had Deb come out and speak on it. Jazz already confirmed it with people behind the scenes as well. They were not devoid of devs at Tango. They maybe
Nicely
somebody have
deflected
left.
too, Umbra, by the way.
Oh, you saw that, huh?
Yeah. I got you, bro.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hell yeahs in the chat. A lot of hell yeahs in the chat, Umbra.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
What's all these hell yeahs about? I missed the subject.
This is you getting on camera.
They want to see more of this man.
Oh, I'm on camera. Don't you guys see me? Look at me with my baby brown eyes. Better than Holly's baby blues. She's sitting there like she all the ish and all
She's
that.
gazing into your.
The hell yes, have it, fam. We don't make the rules.
Yeah.
We don't make the rules.
There you go.
Definitely.
You all have me on camera right there. I'm on screen and everything with my little earring in.
Hey, this is a step in the right direction. I'll take this for now, bro.
Yeah.
Papa Baco 72 with a 9.99 super chat. Thank you, Papa. He says, here, Riskit, just a few US$ for a piece of cake to calm you down a bit. Enjoy. That cake's going straight to Garuda. We're talking after the show. Yeah, we definitely.
Yeah.
The cake is a lie, y'all.
Get that cake.
Is a lie.
Get that cake, Risk. We support you.
Tell you what, there hasn't been a cake good enough yet. Let's just say that.
You haven't tried my cake.
Damn, what is happening right now? What is happening right now?
Premium cake. Premium tier. Like Game Pass is going to have a premium tier. You got the premium cake. All right.
All right. Before this gets out of control, let's do the
What's
outros
my
and
premium
get out of here. Umbra, while we got you, how's your week looking? Thanks for coming through, man. Good takes. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like, I'm always going to be genuine. I'm always going to say what I think. You can agree, you can not agree, but I'll always give you 100% what I believe, be it right or wrong. So yeah, and I think we all do that here. And I would expect if no one is on my panel unless I think they're genuine. So yeah, you probably wouldn't.
Thanks, bro.
We don't see a lot of money because of it, but it's good. It's good that you guys are genuine. So Umbra, let people know what what you're up to for next week.
You may as well just say it. You're gonna do all that. Anyway,
say what?
Nothing. Listen, thank you all in the chat for being here and holding us down. We do understand that there are a ton of other shows going on out there, so you guys could be anywhere else, but you're here with us, so we thank you. To my panelists here, man, you guys are dope. Like Riskit said, we wouldn't want you on here, and I'd give feedback. I will say, hey, I like this, I like that. I'll tell you if I don't like you. That's just how I am. So if I'm rocking with you, I rock with you, and I rock with you all here. You all are good people, and I mean that. And like Riskit said, we are honest when we speak on things because we have integrity. I'm not trying to make it like we are the most integrous of people, but we don't sit here and sugarcoat and lie. Garuda himself can't contain himself halfway. He's gonna tell you something. You're gonna hear this news from him. But in general, we are an honest group when it comes to gaming. We don't sit here and try to lie to you because it's an insult to you all to sit here and lie to you and fraud you. We want to be honest. You know what I mean? I'm not to say that we are always correct because we're not. I'm all for being corrected. If you all have better information than me, I will not sit there and argue you down. But be correct, right? And also just be real. But listen.
Come correct.
No.
Man,
I wanted to.
I mean,
I wanted to.
but man,
I wanted to address one person in this chat who said something I thought was just, I don't know, player. He says, Umbra, you ain't got nothing on blue. Now, why you had to throw a little monkey wrench in the day when I thought I was doing all right with my little image up there, huh? That's how we got to do this. You pitting me up against a pretty lady. That's how you gonna do me?
we always gonna take those L's, fam. We're gonna take those L's. We just gotta live with that.
Boba said, "OB ho." Indeed. But no, much love to you guys as far as where you can find me. I'm sorry to take so long. Infinite Umbra Infinite. You'll find me either way on Twitter. Come by on Tuesdays, Boom's podcast, The Xbox Factor at 12 o'clock Eastern. My podcast with Daniel J. McGee, The Fix, on Thursdays at 8 o'clock Eastern. And back here with us on Friday, 8 o'clock Eastern. Later, guys.
Straight here. Damn. I don't know if I should delete that. But yeah, absolutely, man. Blue, we'll cut to you. How's your week looking? How's things and stuff? Good show.
Yeah. I just will point out real fast, since Umbra took a shot at me, I will take a shot at him through Sante, because Kay has pointed out that nobody is ascending to PCMR without their camera on that beast of a rig.
Oh, you sold me out, Kay. You sold me out.
It's like that.
If you want to sit on your little thin client that you got, now Kay Asante will know what that is. If you want to sit on that little thin client, it won't be a real big boy PC until you put a camera on it. So
I think that was a whole lot of Diddy. That was some Diddy right there.
I'm glad that my mouth behaved itself tonight. And I am going to be on the Renegade Realm podcast on Tuesday night with a few other guys, and we're just really goofy. And it's Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Central on Red Wolf's channel. And then ThatBlueNumber, Twitter, and every gaming platform with my PC that I don't talk about. So
our chat really is the best, eh?
They're good, bro.
Did I do something wrong again?
No, they're just awesome, eh? Like
You're good.
That's why sometimes I try to ignore them, because they'll start laughing at just random shit they say. You guys are amazing in the chat, by the way. Like, absolutely amazing.
It's a good chat.
Channel members are amazing too. Garuda, another fantastic week. Oh, by the way, guys, if you want to find anyone, if you're new here, hit the like button, share us out. We go live 8 p.m. EST. If you want to find any one of the panel members or myself, head down into the chat and down into the description, and the links are all there. You can find everyone. Garuda, another fantastic week,
if you're still
man.
here, Grim.
God.
If you're still here,
Grim. That's yours.
This is yours.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
If he doesn't claim it, send it to me.
No.
My favorite colors too.
Okay.
And Udani Quasano with the $5 super chat before I jump to you. He says, the humor has devolved. I see some of you all need to go back to Stellar Blade and other games as a service.
Yeah.
Misspelled service.
No, he said it just right. He said it just right.
Never misspells
Oh my
anything.
god.
Yeah.
I can't say I've seen that one before, bro.
Yeah. Yo, Donnie, I'm about to be a 69 god. I'm about to get back on it, brother.
He's a fan.
Oh, shit.
Oh, my
Garuda, yep. Let people know where they can find you, what you're up to.
Yeah. Oh man, so much Diddy moments, bro. Yeah, this is where you can find me. Not too many other places. You can find me on Twitter. Same name there. Look, man. Yeah, you find me here. 2 weekends on, 2 weekends off. You guys get to have 2 weekends break away from me now, so you can breathe a deep sigh of relief. Yeah, man. Just even though I'm sort of a part of the panel now, I'm still really grateful every time I come on. And thanks for having me and hearing me out. I do keep it real, and I do echo the sentiments of you other guys in that we are genuine here, and that's part of the reason why I'm happy to be here every time I am, because I'm in the company of genuine people, compassionate people. They keep it real. There's no sugarcoating anything. There's no bullshit, but they're also human beings, real people. So they're the kind of people I gravitate towards. And this chat is awesome, bro. Like, I get so many laughs out of it. Like, yeah, man. So thanks again for having me. I'll see you guys all again in another 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now. And let's just hope for some better news. Yeah. Let's play some
Yeah, because
games.
you always seem to sort of land on the negative news week. So
Yeah.
Damn,
I don't know how
don't
you do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Man, like,
Um,
and it's, yeah.
It's a bit depressing, but hey, like, it's all good. We have a good time. The chat's absolutely amazing. Keeps the positivity rolling in. Donte, another fantastic week. Let people know where they can find you. Have you moved that podcast across to YouTube yet? Box Office Boozy podcast. Where are we at?
Not yet. Working on it. That's my boy who does the podcast with me. He's working on it, so I'll update you guys when that changes. Right now, it's still on Spotify, so that's where you can find it there. You can find me on Twitter, Donte J Moody, on Xbox, Spriggan113. I want to give a major shout out to the chat. You guys are the best, man. Always appreciate you guys for coming out and rocking with us. My panel, man, you guys are phenomenal. Just great people. Like what we're seeing, what's happening right now within the industry is probably we're gonna see some more of this. Just want people to kind of keep it in the forefront that, like, yeah, these are people's lives who are being impacted by this. So even if it's happening to, like, you know, the other platform, if it's happening to PlayStation or something like that, like, let's not use that for opportunities for, like, you know, taking shots like some people have done, because I see a lot of that happening, unfortunately. So hopefully we can get to a point where the industry is starting to recover some, and we can have some more positive news to talk about. So hopefully, let's hope for that, because I'm tired of the negative news. But hope everybody has a great weekend. You guys are great.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Hopefully next week we can be talking about the launch of Hellblade coming up. Guys, please hit the like button and share us out on your way out. So we'll definitely be back next week talking stuff. And me, myself, we're going to start playing some games. I'm in the middle of Zao, so I've been a bit off this week. So I think the news sort of hit me and I didn't feel like gaming. Umbra, you were saying that the other day, so I felt the same, dude. I was like, I don't even feel like gaming right now. So, but yeah, I'm sort of playing Zao, and I think I'm going to smash that after the show. Yeah, pause. We'll see you guys all next week.
Oh, bro.
Have a fantastic
See you guys.
week. Oh, I can't even reach the back.
Peace. Peace.